world, beginning his journey in 1986 as an apprentice, working alongside his mentors, renowned researchers Ed and Lorraine Warren. Today, Joe is an accomplished paranormal researcher, demonologist, consultant, and lecturer with over 37 years of experience. Dr. Heather Lee is the founder of Exploration Paranormal, based out of Southwest Central Florida. With more than 35 years' experience researching and investigating paranormal activity. She is a member of Paranexus, Anomalous Research Association, and the Witches Paranormal Society. Now, your hosts of Passport to the Paranormal, Joe Frankie and Dr. Heather Lee.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Passport to the Paranormal. I hope you guys have had an exciting week so far. I know just from talking to Joe this last couple days, it's been interesting on his end too. And we have an amazing guest tonight. I've been hosting podcasts for a couple years now, and I've been trying to get him on one of my shows, and the timing just never works out. So we will definitely be introducing our guest in just one moment. But Joe, how's it going?
It's going good. Going really good. Yeah, like you said, I've been really busy. I've been building some presentations. Been working on some stuff behind the scenes with, lecture season is upon us.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
I'm going to be busy, especially in October. Everybody wants October. Why? I mean, I know why, but we do these year round, folks. Why is it always October? I had a lady today. I'm like, can I put you down for the 2nd of November? Right after Halloween. One lady asked me for Halloween. I'm like, no one's going to show up because it's Halloween, And she's like, oh, yeah, good point.
Yeah, perfect.
But she's like, well, we really wanted it in October. So there's 1 week where I have 3 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, I enjoy doing them and everything, but it gets exhausting.
Yeah, and for those of you who've been watching us for a while, Joe can talk. I just do the introduction, and then he takes everything the rest of the show. So you probably won't hear much from me the rest of the show.
I'll let you and Brent do the talking. I'll just snap.
But if you guys are watching, feel free to ask us any questions. I see Stephanie Treadway's already chiming in. Hello, Stephanie. And now I want to introduce Brent. I've known Brent for several years now. We used to investigate in Las Vegas together. He's one of the few people that I can investigate with and not have to worry about who I'm with. Always enjoyed investigating with you and knew I had a trusted partner once those lights go off. So welcome to the show, Brent.
Thank you for having me. It's like I said, we've been working at this for since you started the shows. It's like, can you come on? Either I'm working, you're working, internet's down. I'm investigating, you're investigating, whatever. Yep. So we finally made it happen.
Yes, and I'm so excited. And the time zone didn't help either. So when I started hosting this 10 o'clock at night show, I was like, oh, this is perfect. He'll be home from work.
Sometimes.
I
told him today, it's like, don't expect me to work overtime. I got an interview to do, and I'm not going to be late. So it's after the past couple of days, it's like, yeah, I'm leaving on time. You guys can forget about it.
I got to get used to it. Sometimes I forget you're 3 hours behind out there.
Mm-hmm.
It was only 7 o'clock there, but it's 10 o'clock here.
Yeah. But Heather and I have been on dozens of investigations, so it's mainly residentials. We did a lot of, some other stuff, the fun candy shops, but I know she's talked about them on the show before, so it's good to finally be here.
Yes, and that's finally someone when I talk about all the experiences that we have, it's nice to have someone to back that up. Because sometimes I just feel like, okay, I'm talking about this, but I really don't have any backup for it.
I believe you.
Joe's like,
I got your back. That's all you need.
I know. I'm just teasing you, Joe. See, and the funniest thing is Joe and I've never been on an investigation together, but yet we work well together. And as far as coming up with our presentations and doing the show, it's been a great pairing. So hopefully we can move that forward too.
Yeah, well, one of the things in the works, hopefully, Brent, is we're going to get out to Nevada. I got to say it right.
Whichever.
I'm from the Nutmeg State, but no. Hopefully, friend out there that lives in the Reno area. Maybe we can get out to the Washoe Club or something. I would like to go out there.
You'd have more fun at Nevada State Prison.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I said
I haven't been to that one, but I've been in a few.
I'm actually going back September 7th, 8th, and 9th for my 4th year in a row to the prison.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't go there unless it was active.
Mm-hmm. Is it privately owned or no?
It's historical, so
Okay.
the docents will. It's taken care of through the Historical Society.
Gotcha.
Docents take care of it, and they take day tours as well as investigators in. So it's.
I was wondering how easy or hard it is to get permission for some of these places.
January 1st, they start taking dates.
Mm-hmm.
You just I know them very well, so I pretty much get first pick.
That's good.
I'm on the phone the first. It's like, hey, what dates do you want? Line it up, and that's it. It's like the previous 3 years, it was over Halloween. Kind of cliche, I know, doing the investigations on Halloween. So this year, I chose it over the anniversary of the first execution. So
I would have.
Yeah. I wish I was going this year, but it just doesn't fall into where I can make it out that way.
Like I told you, there's
some events out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're hoping to do in the near future.
Just let me know, and if I can get off, I'll be there.
Okay. Yep. And I definitely do want to talk to you about doing Nevada State Prison next year.
Okay.
With doing that, because I really wanted to get out there. I think I'm going to plan probably a week or two where I come out just to the Vegas area, and everybody keeps asking me to come out.
Some of those mines you were in.
Yep.
Problem is the mines are no longer accessible.
Oh, really?
I'm just going to go ahead and throw the wrench in that for you. I'm sorry.
Shit, I was hoping to bring some gold home.
Which ones?
The ones John Ara runs.
Okay.
I spoke to him when I was in Goldfield here, 3 weeks ago. And because of the earthquake they had, year and a half ago, it made him very unstable, and he just had to shut it down.
Oh.
So.
Bummer, because I know Nelson's still doing their tours.
But he will allow us into the other buildings.
Okay.
As long as we make a donation to his charity. He's the key holder to like a dozen buildings that people do not have access to.
Okay.
So
we don't have to go through that other person he told me?
Nope.
Okay.
John's like, you go through me.
I called and talked to him, and he told me I had to go through her, and I'm like, never mind.
I told him the same thing.
Okay.
I was like, I will not go through her. He goes, then you go through me.
Okay. Perfect. I'll have to call him again.
Okay. We'll get that set up too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of places there I've been wanting to get into and do some stuff with, especially with the book that I have. I have a lot of stories from people that I've talked to, and it's like, oh, I really want to get into some of these places. So, Joe, you look like you're thinking.
No, I was listening to you because that was the woman you told me about?
Yes.
Oh, just give me your name and number. I'll sweet talk her.
Okay.
Good luck with that.
I love Joe Frankie's sticker for her car.
She will be the one person who puts a little cross and an X over the I Love Joe Frankie shirt.
Come on, I'll win her heart.
She's so full of it, I think her eyes are brown.
That's all right.
We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, but
so one thing
get out there.
One thing I did want to talk about is I know, Brent, when I first met you, you were all into tech and gadgets, and you had the latest and greatest, and you couldn't wait to get your hands on the next tool. And then what was it, about a year ago you started selling everything off?
When COVID hit, I just started thinking, it's like, why am I getting all this tech? It's like a couple years before that, I stopped watching the paranormal shows. I'm like, why do I need this tech that's not proven? The Ovilus, I got one piece of evidence I could not debunk.
Right.
The laser grid, no need for it. The millimeters and REM pods, and I got away from noisy equipment. So now it's digital recorders, GoPros, and my Eddy. And beyond that, I don't use much.
Right. Yep. Not like when we were using the K2 meter and we were trying to figure out if it was speaking to us in Morse code. That one time.
Too. I said with the Ovilus, I was with the previous team who shall not be named. We were down in Kingman, Arizona, and I got chloride through the
Okay.
Ovilus. Chloride is not in the dictionary for the Ovilus,
Right.
and it's got what, like 200,000 words in there.
Mm-hmm.
And chloride, of course, the ghost town. As you come back to Vegas, we were stopping at the cemetery on the way back. So chloride came through, and after that, I just started looking at him going, this doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And I sold it on eBay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like,
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, I know I'm still skeptical about it, but the one time I used it when we had it at the one location we were investigating, and I had the, the death, devil, demon sacrifice all back to back. And then when I said, who are you going to sacrifice? And it said you. And then I had something touch my back. It's like, okay, that's just too coincidental.
It is, but
to be touched at the same time you're getting all of that. But it was just like, other than that, it just spit out random words.
People are so involved in tech these days. I'm not going to discredit them. You're going to use what you want to use.
Right.
And I've debunked the cell phone apps 100%. And it's like it's like, what do you use to investigate? Cell phone and a flashlight. That's just, I'm going to have a migraine.
Yep.
But to each their own. I mean, if you want to use it, as long as it's not too noisy. You're having fun with it. You're enjoying it.
Yeah.
You're a weekend warrior. You're not, you don't take a cell phone on a residential. So they're having fun with it. They're the TV show ghost hunters. I'll just say it like it is.
Yep. Yeah, I've been noticing that a lot with teams.
Not to discredit any of the viewers or anybody else out there. You're going to use what you want to use. I can't change your mind.
Yep, exactly. And all hate mail goes to Joe. No.
And forward it to me. I'll answer their questions.
Brent, I mean, I echo your sentiments because I've said this just about every show. I'm old school. I mean, back in 1986 when I got started, we didn't have internet. We didn't have social media. We didn't have cat balls. Well, we did, but not the ones we're talking about. I don't believe, because like you said, you sound like me. This stuff is unproven. Somebody getting rich, yay capitalism, somebody's getting rich off selling this equipment. People save up their hard-earned dollars to buy this equipment. I don't believe in it. I still have my old $30 Sony magnetic tape recorder, which I got more evidence on than any digital recorder. I have a couple of those as well. I have my camera, a couple of GoPros, a couple of video cameras. I got one that's just night shot. But look, I'm not trying to poo-poo the tech either. It's just this stuff costs a lot of money. A lot of money people really can't afford. Most of the people that use it, it's just a hobby for them. It's kind of not what we do. It's certainly not what I do. But if you're trying to capture evidence, I've always said this: if you're dealing with an intelligent entity, it's going to make itself known. It's going to be able to communicate with you without all this stuff. You don't need white noise and gadgets, and people sit there and they'll listen to hours and hours of static. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, play that back. I think it just said my name. Are you effing kidding me?
Paradelia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you stare at something long enough, you can see Mickey Mouse in it.
Now, and I bring this up with the cell phone apps. I screenshot one of the permissions you grant when you download the app, and it tells you everything that it's capable of, and it even says it right in there. Broken parts of speech with no English, do, da, na, nu, and a couple others. It's like one syllable, 2 letters, and it's just like reading. And I this is how I debunk it to people. Yeah. When you read something in English, as long as the first letter and the last letter are in the right place, your mind's going to fill in the blanks if you scramble the letters in between. Same thing with these apps. As long as the first and last letter are in the same place, you hear it, your mind's going to make you think something's there answering you, and it's not. So it's like, it's that subconscious, that subconscious bump where your mind's been trained to fill in these words. So
I agree. I mean, I won't go down my rant. I'm biting my tongue.
That's pretty much my shortened version of the rant.
I mean, I'd probably piss off a lot of people, but I don't get any hate mail. I probably will after today, but look.
Well, Dana says she can see you biting your tongue.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Dana. Hi, Nicole.
Yep,
How's
Nicole,
everybody?
we are live. Sorry, I just haven't been watching the comments too closely yet.
I got my peeps. I know there's a lot of people that like to use this stuff, so go ahead if that's what makes you happy. But okay, so the cat balls are going off. What does that mean? I'm gonna buy a bunch of them for my Christmas tree.
It means a truck drove by.
Yeah.
All it means is somebody in the room took a step. It takes the smallest vibration to set these things off.
Yeah, I mean, even like EMF detectors. What we used to do, and I tell people, if you really want an accurate baseline reading, shut the main off, turn the power off, all of it. Okay. Now, even with that done, if you get a reading, that doesn't mean you got a spirit standing in front of you. I mean, the Earth is just one big magnet, one big magnetic field. So it can't be proven. You can speculate all day long, but it doesn't matter what we think. What matters is what we can prove. But I mean, some of this equipment is interesting to look at. I'm not going to spend my money on it though. But if you want to do that, go ahead. God bless you.
Yep.
And the other thing, when you're talking, go ahead. Sorry.
No.
With these,
I'll shut up now.
You're talking about these EMF meters and REM pods. The biggest culprit is unshielded batteries. If you buy these cheap knockoff batteries, I won't mention their names just in case they're listening in somewhere. If you have, say, in your digital recorder, the cheap batteries as well as the REM pod, you go near the REM pod, it's going to set it off, and people are going to be like, "Oh my God, there's something here." No, it's your batteries. Spend the money, get the good batteries. You won't get false positives.
Cell phones will set them off. Walkie-talkies will set them off.
Thank God you mentioned cell phones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you just never know. I don't know. I just get so aggravated when people say, "Oh, look, it's going off." I'm like, and they're all scared and they run out of the place. I'm like, weren't you there to get some evidence? But you're running and checking your diapers. I mean, come on.
The EMF meters on cell phones will only set off cell-based signals.
Yeah.
Little tech 101.
Aren't those free apps anyway? I mean, how about the little stick figure guy? I tried it for my cell phone here, and Hannibal back here. I got a stick figure on her, and she was moving.
Oh my God! You got a stick figure humping your leg.
Well, that I wouldn't mind, but that's for
remember the one we had when we were testing the SLS camera at the one location, and but when they were looking at the box and they were saying, "Oh my God, it's mimicking you," and then put two and two together, you were standing in front of that glass window.
Yep. And those things are only good from 5 to 7 feet away in a well-lit room. I could go off on the SLS all night, but you know what? This is like a 2-hour show, and I don't want to spend 2 hours on one piece of equipment.
Yeah,
just ain't gonna happen.
Nope. I know someone sent me a video, an SLS app, and they're in a cemetery, and every gravestone had a little midget figure on the edge of the gravestone, and they're like, "Look at all these little mini figures that are, haunting the." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness!
Oh my God, they're yard gnomes."
Oh my God! Across the ferry bridge.
Yep, and I'm still having trouble telling people what I think while being nice, because my face always gives it away what I'm really thinking.
Oh, mine.
Be careful what you ask if you don't want to hear the answer. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. Anything else would be disrespectful.
Well, I think you were there, Joe, when the one lady brought me the video with her dog and had all these orbs surrounding her dog.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting there and I'm like, okay. And I'm just like, I don't want to ruin this lady's, desire to have a spirit in her home, because she was like so excited that she had a spirits in her home.
She was excited about it?
She was excited about it.
What was it? I remember. Was it water? Was it dust? Was it
Dust.
Yeah, I mean, I'd let him down gently. I said, look, in my personal and professional opinion, I feel like it's dust.
Mm-hmm.
But then sometimes they get mad at you.
Right. Yep.
They're like, no, it's not dust. I had so-and-so from so-and-so Paranormal tell me it was a demon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, well, if you believe that, then let's go with that.
Brent's trying not to laugh.
What can I do to cleanse my house? Pledge.
Unbelievable.
Or my favorite is, my house is clean. And it's like, I'm not saying your house isn't clean.
And you're not on medication either, right? We've had that one.
Yeah.
No, it's one of the first questions I asked about medication. I had a case many years ago where the guy said he had every night in his bedroom, he had these louver doors that for his closet. He said every night, like clockwork, they would start shaking and then they would open up and these orbs would come flying out. I said, every night? He's like, every night. Okay. I camped out in his bedroom for 2 nights. Nothing but orbs. It was, see the orbs? I'm like, yeah, that's dust.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so then I go over and look at his dresser, and he had all kinds of medications, and we looked some of them up, and they're like, yeah, some could cause hallucinations, this, that, and the other thing. So I mean, we just told him, look, we didn't get any evidence. I'm not saying your house isn't haunted, because he was like really adamant, like we was getting aggravated. And I said, I'm not saying you don't have something here. All I'm saying is I haven't captured anything to substantiate what you're claiming.
We had the same thing with the residential. We asked the lady, are you on any medication? No. It was like, no, I'm not. And somebody did die in the house. There was a murder in the house. You know which one I'm talking about, Heather.
Mm-hmm.
Lo and behold, throughout the investigation, we ended up upstairs in the master bedroom. She left the medicine cabinet open, and there's several medications in there. We stopped the investigation, went downstairs. You said you weren't on any medication. No. So what's that in the medicine cabinet? And all of a sudden it's like, we're done. We packed up and left. It was just, you're going to lie to us. We're not going to help you. It's simple as that, because in my dumbass, and I'll say this clearly and admit it, I created 3 questionnaires for when we had the paranormal team. One was 15 questions. One was like 40, and the other one was like 150. And it went through family history, medication, anything you could possibly imagine, back 2 generations. And we had to condense that one. And I think that's when we used on her and found out everything was a lie.
Yep.
And at that point, you can't help a client. You just can't.
Yep. Yeah. And it all comes down to knowing things too, like their medical history. Like we had that one client who was extremely anemic. And the more research we did, anemia can cause tactile hallucinations. And so that kind of, not saying that she wasn't haunted, because I felt bad for her, that there was nothing we could do for her. But it's just, that could have been a cause for her, because she kept feeling like she was being touched and grabbed.
No,
I remember
probably.
They contacted us for a good 2 or 3 months after, and finally we had to say, listen, we can't help you anymore. And it felt bad because she's going through these medical episodes and she's convinced herself it's not medical.
Right.
And her son was like, what can you do?
Yep.
Take her to a doctor. You got to be bold, and sometimes it comes off harsh and brash and you sound like a jerk, but in the end they're going to thank you for it. But in the beginning, they could leave bad reviews for you, and that's
right. Yep. And I mean, we even did cleansings of her home on all different religious basis. She had me come, but I think part of the problem too is we weren't allowed to cleanse her entire home.
Yeah.
Because when we went afterwards, we were only allowed in her bedroom and the living room. We weren't allowed to go in her son's wing of the apartment. Yeah. So it was kind of like, we can't cleanse your whole home if you don't let us.
And that's pretty much doing nothing at that point. It's you're wasting time.
It's like bug spraying, but not spraying the back door.
And I hate saying that. You know how much I went above and beyond for residentials, for any of our clients. And to be able to be taken back and where your hands are tied, and it's like, if you're not going to allow me, I can't help you.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't.
Yeah.
Well, we need help. Then you need to let us do this. Well, we can't.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them don't want help; they just want verification or
Mm-hmm.
validation. And
Yep.
you know, I've had people say, "Well, I just wanted to make sure I have something. I don't want you to get rid of it." I'm like, "What?"
A lot of them
That
just
was
want
that was in the
attention.
early years. I don't fall for that anymore.
The worst ones are they just want attention.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
We had one in Laughlin, down in Laughlin, which
Mhm.
is what, hour and a half from Vegas. The guy, the old man, he just wanted attention because nobody would talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my heart broke for this guy.
Yeah.
He called me every day.
Yeah.
And it's
I
like,
wasn't on that case, but that was hard hearing the stories.
it still breaks my heart talking about it. It's like this guy was probably in his mid 70s. You know, his family didn't want anything to do with him. He lived alone in a 2-bedroom apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, Brent, can you do anything for me? I'm going, oh, we've been down there twice.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What was he claiming was going on?
Just he felt like something was watching him all the time. He's, like I said, he was he was a vet. He didn't have any attachments. We investigated twice, like I said, didn't even get one EVP. You know,
So
we
they were
debunked
just feelings.
just feelings. Like I said, I think he convinced himself enough that he was maybe self-manifesting or subconsciously manifesting something.
Say that.
And we finally had to tell him, we're sorry, we can't help you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's other teams out there, and I gave him, 2 or 3 other teams. I said, if you want to reach out to them, please do.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, you get a lot of people will go from team to team to team until they get one that will validate. You know, usually it goes the other way, and you get team inexperienced people that say you have a demon here.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go out there and you're like, there's no demon here. But yeah, but so and so said, now you got to put the stuff back in the horse. You know, now you got to pull them back from the ledge and say, there's no demon in your house. You know, but why did they tell me there was? I don't know why. Maybe because they're morons and don't know what they're doing, and they're out there playing with people's lives and their emotions. You know how upset I get, Heather.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Out of all the, I'm probably getting close to probably around 900 investigations, and all the residentials I've had, I had one demonic, and it was when I first started in the field. And I swear to God, I will. If you could pay me $1 million, I would not go back into that house to this day for what I felt in that house. And it being, I think I was 2, maybe 3 years into the field, and sitting down interviewing the family and watching shadows walk up and down the hallway, and to find out the kids were practicing, they were doing sacrifices of animals in the back room. They actually had a pentagram in blood under the carpet, and it shook me.
There's your doorway.
Well, and the hardest thing too is, I mean, we had that one case that we went to where other members of the team we were on went in before us, and when they came out, they said it was demonic, and had already told the client that.
I'm trying to remember which one that was.
The one she sold the house right after we investigated.
The one where I got rocked.
Right, and I got flipped almost, or
almost got knocked off the bathtub when you were doing the cascaria.
Right.
I still got those dolls right over on my dresser.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. It was a fun house to invest. I mean, I thought it was fun because there was a lot of activity. I mean, outside of being attacked.
Oh, it was fun until I didn't know where I was, who I was, what I was doing there, and how I got there.
Yeah. Yeah. That scared me a little. I was like, I can't control you if you went off the deep end.
Yeah. Everybody looked at me and said, you didn't look like you were there. It didn't look like you.
Right.
And I actually found the audio on that. It's like, where am I? It's like, but
yeah,
I've had worse things happen. What can you do? You can't control it.
Mm-mm.
Then again, I don't do prayers before. I don't do cleansings. I don't do groundings. I go in completely open. You've known this about me.
Yep. Yeah.
If I'm going to get it, I'm going to get it with both barrels.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The last thing that you want to do, and I've dealt with a lot of demonic cases or negative energies. I know we don't like to use the D word, but I've had people tell me, "Oh, I'd like to experience that for myself," and I'm like, "Oh, you would." I always say if my phone is silent, I'm happy. I don't want to deal with those cases. They're not fun. They're rare. They're very rare. Not like TV and Hollywood would want you to believe that there's, demons were lurking around every corner. But a lot of it can be explained as, mental issues or psychological issues or whatever. But how about the people that tell you that they're possessed? Like someone that's possessed doesn't know they're possessed, and they wouldn't be able to function. Somebody could be oppressed but not possessed. And, people just they throw those terms around like interchangeably, and then they're wrong because they're naive. They don't know what they're talking about.
They've got their own inner demons. They don't have demons. They have inner demons. It's more psychological than anything else, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, and they may need help, but it may not be the type of help that we can provide, although we may be able to point them in the right direction. But, some of these people are just so convinced, no, I see black shadows and I hear growling and this, that, and the other thing. And you go out there and you're like, I don't feel it. And believe me, if I walk into a house and there's something there, I usually feel it. I may not be able to see it right away, but you feel it. And you just know something's off. You can feel the energy in the house. And we have a lot of resources that we use. Some of them are on here right now in the comment section. People that have gifts and abilities that can determine that. I've had people say, Joe, just be very careful on this house. I feel there's something there. Okay. Well, I'm like you, man. I don't care. People are running out of the house. I'm running in. I've taken a beating over the years. My first demonic case I worked on, I was picked up and tossed across the room. But I had a Coke bottle, a 2-liter bottle of Coke whizzed by my nose. The chairs and everything in the kitchen stacked up on top of each other. Dishes came flying out. Cats go crazy. That was actually like back in the late 80s. That was scary.
I was actually thrown out of my own bed. I came home from an investigation, went to bed, woke up. I was about 2 feet above my covers. And I landed about 8 to 10 feet away by the landing going downstairs. I got up, and I don't know what your language barrier is on this channel, but
you're good.
I basically said you hit like a bitch and went back to bed. I just brushed it off like nothing happened. It's like, I knew what I was getting into when I got into the paranormal. Went right back to bed, woke up, and it was gone. It's like, I tell people that, and they're like, you got what in your own house? Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously, you do this work long enough, you're going to have things follow you home. It happens. They usually don't stick around, but they're curious about you as much as you are of them.
Yeah, actually, during COVID, I had that one spirit from the one location we would investigate quite often actually come just to check up on me. It's like, you guys haven't been back in a while. That's how it felt. He was just standing in my kitchen.
That's cool.
Almost like he was just checking on. I haven't seen you guys in a while. How's it going?
I got very fortunate during COVID. I continued to investigate. We went to places, they're shut down, but, they got a little bit of money coming in. Hey, we'll make a donation. Okay, there's nobody in here. Come on up. Right. Elko, the episode that just aired on so-and-so's TV show, The Commercial Casino, I investigated that almost 2 years ago. And it's like, that place is quite active. Nothing evil, like they said, but and I've chewed the fat with you on the other one, but there was nothing evil in there. It was very active, very strong presence that didn't want anybody in there. And you get that. It's like, I shouldn't be here right now. But, it's, that's when I did NSP for the first time during COVID. Did Metropolis, Nevada. And that was, abandoned, like 2 walls of structures. That's all that remains. Did Mineral County Courthouse. I, able to do so much because it was all shut down.
Right.
And people look at you, where are you going? Hey, I'm going ghost hunting.
That was the perfect time to go because there was nobody, that's when we filmed the 2 documentaries. because
Yeah.
there was nobody where we were going. So,
That's-
you didn't have to worry about protocols.
What worried me a little bit, we got up to Elko and come to find out, per population per capita, Elko was the most contagious city in the country. Like one out of every 3 people in the town had COVID. So you told me this after the investigation? Thank you. But yeah, it's
Brent, do you get a lot of requests for residentials?
not lately, because I just got the team back together. I was basically doing it by myself. I was joining other teams and just going on the investigations. And now that I've gotten the team coming back together, we're going to start back into residentials.
Yeah.
Because I miss it. I really miss it. I'm tired of the candy shops.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, I don't mind doing public investigations. They're fun at times, but I've always said my purpose here is to help people and educate people. Help educate people. That's what I know what Heather and I are trying to do. I don't really have a lot of time for the public things are fun, but you can't conduct a real investigation with 50 people there.
No, you can't.
And in my opinion, people may have a differing opinion, but if you've got all these people there, you got a lot of energy there. It's hard to conduct an investigation because you'll have a lot of you probably have a lot of contamination, noise contamination. Things like
that's
that.
what's good. Like I'll give you an example for NSP this year. I'm going September 7th, 8th, and 9th. The 7th, there's only 3 people going. The 8th, there's 5 people going. And on the 9th, there's 22 people going. It's over 1 million square feet. I mean, 20 people, you're still not going to bump into each other with all
no, if you're spread out, that's different. I'm talking about like if you're in like a residence or
residential,
like
I don't allow over 4 people.
I mean, with some of these teams out there, they've got like 20 people, 20 members. And you can't do it, and everybody wants to go. It's like, whoa, and then they start fighting amongst themselves. Oh, you got to go on the last investigation. And like, oh my God, we're trying to help somebody here, and we're fighting amongst ourselves. And I used to have it. I still have a team, but it's just my buddy and I, locally. But I used to have other members, and it got like that. And I said, I have 3 children. I don't need more adult children.
Right?
I just disbanded them all. I said, you know what? You have a purpose here. If you're doing my research, you're doing my research. If I feel I need you on the investigation, I'll ask you, but don't question me. Otherwise. So finally, I just got fed up, and I said, no more. That's it.
That's why our rule was you can only do residentials if you're a lead. If you're like the director goes, your head guy goes, then like Heather would go and one other person would go, depending on the size of the residence. But we always kept it in even numbers. That was kind of just a weird little thing we had. Keep it 2, 4, 6. You never go in 3s or anything odd numbers like that. I don't know if that's
But when I started, I would go with Lorraine and Ed Warren. I would accompany them, and my wife, who we were just dating at the time, but she would usually be with me, and she would kind of take the notes, because Lorraine would go into her thing, and she'd make contact with whatever spirit was there, and she would just write down everything she said. It worked out very well, because it was a few years before Ed let me go out on my own, but I always had somebody with me. Always had backup. Maybe at least one other person, because for safety reasons, Heather, and we talked about this yesterday. Especially if you're out in one of these mines or something, you fall and hurt yourself and you can't get yourself out of there. Just for safety reasons alone, you should never go out alone. Now, with that being said, as hypocritical as this may sound, I have gone to homes by myself because I didn't have anybody else or didn't want anybody else, for fear that, look, I'm responsible for your safety too. And I didn't know what I was going to be up against. Is this going to be nothing? Is it going to be just grandma's ghost coming to visit? Or is it going to be, the gates of hell, like Zach always has? Every case is the gates of hell.
I was trying to refrain from
I
dropping that
introduced
name
him to the
tonight.
gates of hell.
Huh?
No, you
I said
introduced
I
him to
introduced
Satan's
him.
armchair.
I have no filter.
At least he didn't run with that. I was shocked on that one.
Yeah,
Well,
but as soon as your interview played on there, he started saying it was evil. And I'm just sitting there shaking my head going, Heather, why'd you do it?
yeah.
Because I had a whole chapter on that in my book, and that's why they called me.
Well, I don't know.
But
Entertaining.
you say going alone. I'm notorious for it. Anytime I go with a team, I was like, come find me in a couple hours. I'm going this way. If I don't come back, that's where I'll be. Like with the mine. And Heather will attest to this when we went to Goldfield for the mine, I went down with John's son. He took me down to like the 3rd level, and the air down there was bad. I mean, it smelled like rotten eggs, but there's no sulfur down there, and it's, natural gas. It doesn't have a smell, so subconsciously, I'm smelling this. I'm going, is that natural gas? I had trouble breathing when I got up. It took me hour and a half, 2 hours to get back to normal.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was something down there or just bad air, but if it hadn't been for James Arick, John's son, I wouldn't have made it out of there. He had to follow me up the ladder to like, Brent, just come on, another level. You're good. Keep going. I get out and I just like shut off the camera gear and I just drop. It's like, what's going on here?
Yeah. That kid was fun to investigate with. He has no fear.
No, he has no fear.
And it's a shame that COVID hit because him and Aiden were getting along really well. And then they lost track of each other once COVID hit.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun up there. Now we got the doors back open up there for pretty much anything.
Yep.
So when you guys get out here, we'll make a special trip either to Carson City or to Goldfield or both.
Right.
I'd like to have you both in the hotel.
Yep. Yeah, and I know Henderson Libraries, they still want to do our presentation you and I were going to do on haunted ghost towns or haunted Goldfield that we were supposed to do, but COVID hit.
Yeah, I remember. Okay.
That sold out in 2 days. The first time around.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was like 170 seats, and it was sold out in 2 days. I mean, granted, it was free, but all seats were taken.
That's crazy.
The minute they announced it, and that's why they wanted us to do it regularly. But then, COVID hit, and I did it online for them for about a year. And she just kind of said, if you're ever back in Vegas, let us know.
Thank you for not telling me that then, because I probably would have freaked out. Okay, we got 170 to talk in front of.
Yeah.
Get me behind a microphone online. I can talk to 20,000 people. You put me in front of 100 people face to face, it's going to be like.
Oh, you don't like to talk in front of people, Brent?
See, Joe, I'm not the only one.
Now, I used to have an online radio show, and I had my audience just in the UK alone was 20,000. So I could literally talk behind a microphone all night and be fine. You give me a small group of the paranormal, I can talk for hours.
Yep.
10, 15 people tops, I'm good. But you get me much more than that, it's going to be like, I got this many eyes on me.
Well, I mean, that's the most common fear is the fear of public speaking.
Small groups,
I overcame
yes.
that at birth.
See, and the funniest thing.
I like smaller groups; they're nice. But I've talked to, 30 people. I've talked to 3,000 people at universities and stuff, and you overcome it. You overcome it.
Yeah, I like the small personal groups. You get more personal attention with your audience, and it's more of a connection. You get a great big room. There's no connection there.
I agree. What I do, and I told Heather this, I hate being on stage. And I rarely use a microphone because I got a big mouth and a loud voice. Yes, you're laughing. But what I do is I walk amongst the people. Sometimes I'll actually sit down next to somebody and go, hey, good show, huh? That's just me. I'm just a ham, but it makes people more comfortable with you and with what you're talking about. Because some of the stuff's pretty scary.
Yeah.
But I try to keep it light and entertaining because, all kidding aside, you never know what your audience is going to be like. There may be younger kids, even though I tell people it's not appropriate for probably kids under 12, maybe. And one lady brought her kid, and she was 6 years old or something. And I'm like, look, you know, I'd get to a section of the presentation where I had to show a video or an audio clip that might have had some foul language, not coming from me, but and I would say, okay, this is the part where we have, you know, some foul language. If there's anybody here that wants to leave, I'll give you a moment. Nobody would leave, then I'll stay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's okay. You know, she's heard worse. Okay.
Yep.
But, you know, seriously, I'd say, look, I don't want anybody to have any nightmares or whatever. I've never had anybody call me and said, yeah, my kids have nightmares. But anyway.
Yeah, we're Heather, were you there for Tussauds?
Yes.
You remember that one when we did the investigation, doing the investigation with all the employees they bring in. They have you take the employees on a ghost hunt of the place they work, and having, you know, young teenagers up to, you know, early 20s going through, and they're, you know, gabbing away. You have to tell them to be quiet. We went back through and you know, analyzed all the evidence, and they brought us back into the little theater, and we actually had employees quit because of the evidence we got.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they just got up, they heard the one EVP, and they just got up and walked out. It's like going, what just happened here?
You know, my group at that investigation was the best. They took the equipment and ran with it, and they were amazing.
They did. It was like, I'm sitting there looking at the what was her name? I think it was Gina.
Yeah.
And she's like, don't worry about it. I'm going, you had employees quit because of me.
Don't worry about it. It happens every year.
But I'm pushing to get back in there to do that one away from, you know, the employees.
Mm-hmm.
But anything to do with the hotel and casino out here in Vegas, they get the slightest little hint of paranormal, they ask you to leave.
Mm-hmm.
I got kicked out of the Luxor for wearing my paranormal shirt in there with a friend.
Really?
Like, we don't want that publicity here. You need to leave.
Yep.
It's like, excuse me?
That's because the Luxor is one of the most haunted ones on the strip.
I had a friend in from Missouri. She was part of a paranormal team out there, and I showed her where somebody had landed when they jumped, because there used to be jumper a week out there at the hotel, and the carpet didn't match, the paint didn't match on the wall. Like, this was somebody landed and bounced. All of a sudden, here comes security. What are you doing? So I'm showing where somebody kind of off themselves. He goes, we can't confirm that. We don't want that publicity here. You got to go. And they escorted us out the front door. It's like, okay, next time I just won't wear my shirt.
Yep. And getting back to big groups, the other event that we had canceled was that pagan festival.
Okay.
Did I tell you that the previous year they had 5,000 people come through? And you and I were supposed to speak at that?
Okay.
You're like, I'm glad COVID came now.
You know what? I say I probably couldn't do it. I could probably get up and start gabbing away. Mm-hmm. Questions, anybody? Let's just have a rap session. Who wants to talk?
Just visualize everybody in their underwear. That's all.
No, that could get us.
That could be a scary thought, depending on who's there.
I had Sean Whittington on my other show last week, and he's like, "Don't make me stand up," because he didn't have anything on underneath his robe.
Okay, that's too much.
He's like, "It's too hot here in Vegas," and I'm like, "Oh, I can't envision that the whole show now."
Yeah, what is it? 106 out right now? Let's see. That's
I know here it's been in the high 90s, but our heat index got up to 115 today.
Really?
Yeah.
And is that humid heat?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got my air conditioner on now.
Yeah,
it's
you don't
actually,
need to take a shower. You can go outside.
It's 92 degrees with humidity. Yesterday it was 108.
I thought it was like really dry out.
It is. We're in monsoon season.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yep, 2 inches of rain.
Yeah, I mean, the humidity sucks here in the Northeast. But yeah, it's better than snow. When it snows, I'm coming down to visit Heather.
Oh, you're coming in September at the peak of hurricane season.
Florida, it's God's waiting room.
Yeah, as soon as it starts snowing, you might be getting a guest for a while.
I always welcome guests.
Well, hopefully we'll be touring down there.
Yep.
That's the goal.
Yeah. And hopefully Bill can get Robert the Doll secured.
Oh, that'd be fun to investigate for about an hour.
I told Bill if they'll allow me, I'll hug the damn thing. Brent, you probably would too. You don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I'd give him a hug, but I'd ask first. You mind if I hug you?
You'd probably get a weird look out of this. I even told Heather this. I'd hug Annabelle if they'd let me.
Mm-hmm.
I've held that doll twice.
I would ask her permission first, of course. Be like, hey, I'm going to give you a hug, and I'll put you down. I just want a picture with you and give you a hug. I've told people that, and they're like, you're nuts. It's like, well, as long as you ask permission, you're good.
Would you rather hug Annabelle or public speak?
Hug Annabelle.
Those are only two choices.
Well, depending on the history I've read with Annabelle, I'd rather public speak.
Yeah.
Because every time
Joe watched me last year, and I almost passed out.
No, you did fine. You got to warm up to it. I mean, all kidding aside, my first lecture, I think, was back in 2000, 2001 is when I started doing them. And I was doing them with my buddy. We did them together. So if you got someone with you to play off of, it's usually a little easier. Mm-hmm. But after the first couple, you got, and you interact with the audience. You warm up to it. You get comfortable with it. And the thing is, if it's a topic that we know well, and you're comfortable with the material, it's easier. I mean, obviously, if you're not comfortable with the material and you're trying to fumble for words and explain something, and I've been to other lectures through the years with other groups, and I cringe. I give them an A for effort, but when they put all kinds of text up on the screen and they're standing there just reading verbatim what's up on the screen, it drives me nuts. It just grinds my gears.
You got to add a little bit. Don't just sit there like a robot and be like,
yeah. But no, Brent, do you do lectures now at all? Small
I don't
ones?
do lectures, but like I said, like everybody at work, and once I get because of the field I work in, I get around a group, they're like, oh, you're the ghost hunter. Then I'll get like 10, 12 people around listening, asking questions for, 20, 30 minutes. It's fine, because it's around the people I know in the industry. So it's more comfortable. Mm-hmm. But I think the previous radio shows that I've had kind of helped me realize once I saw my numbers of viewers, whether behind a microphone or on a stage, I think it's pretty much relatively all the same. Mm-hmm. Knowing, you have 20,000 people listening to you. If I'm standing in front of an audience, just say, hey, I'm on the radio again. And just, kind of, I don't want to say shade them out, but kind of get in that mindset.
Yeah, sometimes it could be uncomfortable. I haven't had a lot of experiences for myself, but when I was with Ed and Lorraine and they would lecture, you'd get hecklers. You'd get some wise asses out in the audience, and Ed would just give me the look, and I'd just go over and tap him on the shoulder, and I'm like, look, you can ask your questions, but you need to be respectful, or I'm going to have to ask you to leave. But there were people out there, and usually they had one too many to drink, and we call that liquid courage, and they would be disrespectful, about certain things. But you could, people want to, there's always one in every group. They want to ask you challenging questions. I had a guy once at a lecture. I've told this story, but this had to have been about 15 years ago. I'm showing a photograph that I had taken. He didn't know that at the time. It was in an old abandoned theater in Connecticut. And I got this interesting photo, and I said, look, folks, I'm not saying this is a spirit, but it's very interesting because there's nothing in the previous photo or the one after it. So I got some wiseacre out in the audience. He's like, well, I'm a photographer. I could tell that's been photoshopped or whatever. And my buddy, I could see him starting to get pissed. I'm like, let me handle it. So I look at the guy, and I'm like, sir, I said, you know what? Thanks for the compliment because I took the photo. I said, and I can assure you, I said, you're here for free tonight. I said, it was like a Friday night too. It was at a library, I think. I said, I'm about an hour away from home, away from my family and my kids. My kids are much younger than they're adults now. But I said, what do I have to gain to come here and lie to you about this photograph. I said, I'm not saying that this is a spirit. I don't know what it is. I said, but I don't appreciate your tone. And everybody was getting on the guy at that point. I'm like, no, leave him alone. I said, look, I don't mind people asking challenging questions. And if I don't know the answer, I'm going to say, that's a good question. I said, I'll look that up, or you look it up and get back to me, or something like that. Mm-hmm. But that's people's, a lot of folks that I've talked to that try to do these lectures, they're always afraid of these kind of people, and, I kill them with kindness, and this guy came up to me after the show and was extremely apologetic. I said, don't worry about it. I said, if you're a skeptic, that's fine. I said, I'm like Fox News. I report, you decide. If you don't believe in what I'm telling you, that's fine. But what'd you come for? Mm-hmm. Because if your goal was to disrupt this, lecture, I said, well, you did, and I'm not happy about it, But anyway, it worked out. It worked out. But I don't get a lot of that, or I'll be able to turn the situation around, hopefully. But if you get someone that's had a few too many to drink and they wander in from the bar, then you got to deal with it, or you just have, their security remove them or something. But
that's one of my favorite things. It's one of my favorite things, though, is the challenging questions. They just come in, they hit you with something, you're like, ooh, that's a good question. It's like, I'll tell you what I know, and I'll admit I don't know the rest. I get that all the time. It's like, you know what?
Maybe nobody knows. I mean,
this is my views. This is what I've taken from people teaching me through the years. I take a little bit from everything everybody teaches me and form my own conclusions. This is my conclusion of what I've been taught through the years and what I've read. If I'm wrong, it's like, we'll find out. We can do more research. It's like.
And that's a very good answer. Based on my years of research and experience with cases, this is my best theory. But can I prove it in the court of law? Probably not. But it's not so much the questions they ask, it's how they ask it. And you know what I'm talking about.
That's snide. That's snide to it.
Wants to, try to show you up. And, the Warrens used to get that. And, Ed had a temper. He did not like it. He's like, Joe, take care of this. And I'll be in the back going.
I would have loved to have seen Ed respond to but that's not how Zach does it.
Now, my favorite are the ultra religious that come knocking at me, and there's no such thing as spirits. Once you die, you go to heaven or hell. There's no in between. And it's like, okay, Heather knows where I'm going with this. I can see her nodding.
I refer to this story quite often.
And it's like, okay, in the Old Testament, there's no true definition of heaven or hell. Fire and brimstone did not truly come in until the New Testament. So, and they're like, yeah, that's okay. We can go with that. Okay, what if when you die, your judgment is to remain here and watch the ones you love grow old and die? That's your punishment for a life of sin. Oh, no. You go to heaven or hell. There's no wait. Old Testament, no true definition of hell. That is your hell, to watch your family grow old and die. That is your punishment for a life of sin. That's the ultimate punishment, is to watch your children die. What if that is your definition of hell? And they can't answer that. They're like, it's like, okay, they get it at that point. It's, and it's.
You got Joe thinking.
No, I think about it, because when you say Old Testament, it's like, okay, eye for an eye in the Old Testament. New Testament, turn the other cheek. All right.
Yeah, so there's.
I wasn't there.
Discrepancies, but it's like, okay, you get the true definition. The people who follow one testament and not the other, you can't pick and choose on that. You're either one or the other. You got to be both.
Whatever works for them, right?
Yeah, and it's like, at that point, they just got to back down and say, you know what, you're actually right. It's like, then you just admitted there's spirits. Even the Bible said there's spirits among us. You're not supposed to communicate with them, but they're there.
I just ask people to have an open mind.
Yeah.
I said, look, how is it possible? How are you all possible sitting here in front of me? I've said this all the time. I'm like, what, did you just poof and you were here? A bunch of pixie dust? And I said, no. I said, everybody must believe in something, or maybe they don't. You could be agnostic, atheist. I mean, I was born and raised Roman Catholic. Heather and I talk about this a lot. But I respect other people's opinions and religious beliefs. You know, as I would expect them to respect mine. You know, I don't know everything, and I never will know everything. You know, but you know, all I can do is educate you on what I know. I mean, you know, Heather has taught me a lot about her beliefs. She doesn't believe anything I say, but
I was raised Roman Catholic, and I left that church for a reason.
well, I don't go every week. I hope my priest isn't listening.
Yep. And actually, real quick, we do need to, now that we're 2 hours long, Joe, we do need to take a quick commercial break, so that way Todd can pay the bills, I guess you would say.
Just when it was getting interesting.
I know, just when it gets interesting, but we'll continue as soon as we come back. And thank you guys for watching Passport to the Paranormal. We will see you in just a few moments.
Okay.
Looking for a unique paranormal experience? The Haunted Rock Island YMCA Paracon, October 7th, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. is just the event you're looking for. You will have the opportunity to investigate the Haunted Rock Island YMCA with ACG Paranormal. Visit with over 60 paranormal and metaphysical vendors from 8 or more states. And pre-order your t-shirts at dvinar@aol.com. Visit a psychic gallery reading, mediums, tea leaf reading, animal communication, dream interpretation, aura reading, tarot and oracle card readings, or get a Reiki healing. See a demonstration of the Estes method by Carly Bird. Presentations by Nick Simons and Aaron G. Thompson of 28 Days Haunted, Greg Bakken from Ghostbox Radio, and headliner Rick Hayes, along with many folks you'll see on Paraflix. Be sure to like and follow our sponsors: Paraflix, WLTK DB Talk Radio LLC, Studio 6 Productions, Unturned Pages, and Ocean Eye Crystals. General admission is only $5, and all proceeds go directly to the Haunted Rock Island YMCA. For more information on the Haunted Rock Island YMCA Paracon and vendors, look for them on Facebook under Events.
Welcome back, everyone, to Passport to the Paranormal. We're having a super great conversation, and Joe's laughing, so that means he's thinking about something. No.
Nah. Me?
Yeah.
I have no opinion whatsoever.
No, nothing whatsoever. One thing I did want to ask, you did bring up, and I did have this on my list of questions I wanted to talk to you, Brent, about, is last time we spoke, or one of the times, you had a Amazon book list of, what was it, several hundred, if not almost 1,000 books that you want to order?
Yeah.
And how many of those have you ordered?
Actually, I went through and dumbed it way down. It's like, I'm never going to be able to read all this and have room for a library. I've got roughly 100 over here on my bookshelf, you know, parapsychology and all that. A lot of books from D. Scott Rogo, Hans Holzer, and all them. And I've read each one of them, you know, 2 or 3 times. You know, and it's, you know, the more you read into it, the more questions you have, and you even question your own paranormal styles. Right. And it's, once I get back, you know, a little bit normalcy, I'm going to start adding again. It's been about 6 months since I've ordered a book. Okay. But yeah, I'll go back and re-add them and then start.
Yeah, and which one of the ones that you have is your favorite? Because I know you used to have one that was your favorite. I'm wondering if it's still the same one.
Florida Ghost Towns.
Psychic Dreaming by Lloyd Arbach. Amazing book. Hans Holzer, Witchcraft. Hans Holzer, I mean, any one of his books are amazing. And D. Scott Rogo too. His just parapsychology book, absolutely amazing. What was that other one? By J.C. Knight, Ghost Physics.
I was going to say Ghost Physics was the one you always recommended.
Ghost Physics is the first book I'd ever recommend to any paranormal investigator. You know, also touches lightly on the God particle too, about when you die, your body gets so many grams lighter. Is that your spirit leaving your body? You know, so the more you read, the more, like I said, I've even questioned my own techniques.
Mm-hmm.
I even started asking, is paranormal even real? The more parapsychology books I read, it's like, wait a minute, is everything a subconscious manifestation? Or are we actually, subconsciously putting our imprinting the evidence onto our recorders?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I go into these locations blind. I don't want to know anything about it when I go in, just for that sole reason. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to know any names. I don't want to know dates. Just let me go and see what I can find, then compare it to the history of the location.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it's a residential, yeah, that's a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do your research on the property itself. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know one experiment that I wanted to do with the Ovilus, just kind of to test the device, but also to test the psychic imprinting, is to have a list of words that none of them are related, and just sit there and think as hard as you can about those words, just to see if they would pop up on the Ovilus.
yeah, that'd be something to try. That's why I said when I mentioned chloride earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, excuse me, sorry. That's not a word that comes up often,
Right.
unless you're in the area.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
And was that one of the pre-programmed words?
no,
Mm-hmm. That one's not.
Chloride is a town in Arizona that's basically practically an abandoned mining town. I think there's a couple hundred people that live there, maybe, but you go up for the old cemetery from where all the old miners are buried.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, to hear chloride come through, it's like, wait a minute, what is this?
Yep.
And I was in, like I said, Kingman, Arizona when it happened.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, maybe this is a little bit credible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
But
that's
then
very interesting, but you'll never know the real truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can suppose or surmise that maybe this has some kind of paranormal, supernatural, but
And then
how
being
do you prove it?
Yeah, because I was going to say the only other way to test it was to go back another time and bring the device back.
Yeah,
but being tech, who's to say that it doesn't have a memory and a GPS? So when you go back to that area, chloride pops up again. It's like, oh, this popped up now. We're going to bring it back. And
you mentioned GPS. That goes right back into cell phone investigating with all the apps.
Right.
You read the apps, it tracks your contacts and your location.
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say it's not doing a quick Google search and feeding you information based off what it finds?
Right.
And it's like, okay, there's another way to debunk it right there. Even if you airplane mode, it's still, you gave the permissions to that application to use your contacts and your location, and that overrides the airplane mode.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. It's interesting. The other thing too that I'm floored at, the one home that we investigated for the one client, I was standing downstairs talking to another investigator while you were closing out with the client, and her Amazon Alexa it lit up, and it's started sharing information on kidney disease. And I didn't we weren't talking about it at the time, but that was shortly after I was diagnosed with stage 5 kidney failure. And I'm still trying to figure out how that happened.
Yeah, that's weird. That is definitely one for the books.
Yeah, because he was like, why is it talking about that? And I was like, well, it could be a spirit picked up on something, or who knows. It was just, that was really weird and weird timing.
I've heard stories from people. People reported that their Alexa would just start talking gibberish,
Mm-hmm.
or saying things. I can't explain it, but it's an electronic. I mean, who knows? But I'm certainly not worried that there's a demon talking out of the box. I mean,
yeah, can Alexa hear infrasound?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's one thing I'd like to find. They do have a infrasound recorder. I think it's an old Tascam, but it's like freaking $500. I ain't paying that kind of money for it. But it will actually record infrasound.
No, that's interesting because you guys heard of the Dyatlov Pass incident?
Mm-hmm.
Back in the 50s, where those hikers were found. That was brought up as a theory, somewhere infrasound, but I don't even know if they ever figured out what happened to them. It's kind of strange. Well, where the tent was ripped open from the inside, and they're all found like mostly naked with no clothes on, and it's out in Siberia somewhere. But I've watched the documentary a couple times. It's interesting, but you sit there and go, I don't know. You know, I can't explain it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's aliens.
It's like all those. I was going to say it's like all those series of Skinwalker Ranch.
Skinwalker Ranch. I don't know.
Love to go investigate that alone.
Yeah, that place is big enough. They could open up a section to the public.
Do they let people do that, or you got to be like a big name and have money?
You have to be part of their team.
Yeah, well, I'd like to see some of them.
Yeah, my number one will never happen, but I want to do it alone so bad.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be like, yeah, it's like you're crazy. Just no. I'd like to do the Amityville house alone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's funny you mention Amityville because that house a few years ago it sold for only like I don't know if it was 650 or 850,000, which not a lot.
It's on the market again.
Is it?
Yeah.
I wish I could afford to buy it. I don't think the town would allow it, but if you turned it into like a B&B, I don't think they would allow it though, or somebody would have done that by now.
From what I heard, the contingency on the house was 0 paranormal. You can't do anything with it. But as we all know, same thing happened with the Conjuring house when they bought it. It was in the contract. They weren't supposed to do anything paranormal with it.
Yeah, I've been to the Conjuring house many years ago when the Sutcliffes owned it. Norma and her husband, I forget his name.
What a friend of mine, you might know her, Melanie Cabrera.
Mm-hmm.
She was with Prism Paranormal, I think it was. She was with at the time. She was good friends with the previous owner, and she goes, "It's not haunted, Brent. Don't waste your time."
Well, I mean, if I was a little kid when that happened back in I think it was early mid 70s. I know Andrea Perrin. I'm sitting there making this stuff up. You know, and the Warrens certainly have told me what happened there. I've been to the house. When I was there, I didn't find anything. I didn't feel anything.
Yeah.
Was there something there? Possibly. It could have been targeting the family that lived there.
Mm-hmm.
But what bothers me about some of these, like the Amityville in this case, is when the people move out. And Amityville, I believe, was bad. I mean, these people fled the house and left everything behind. But the people that have lived in there since then have reported nothing. You know, doesn't mean that it didn't happen, but it is mysterious.
I mean, does that mean there were personal attachments and not necessarily, the property?
It could have. You know, there's so many theories out there, but when you can't explain something, there's so many people out there. Oh, it was a hoax. It wasn't a hoax. You know, did everything happen that was explained or the way that it was explained? Maybe not. I wasn't there. I've had people say, "Oh, Joe, it's cool. You were at Amityville." I'm like, "No, I was like 6 or 8 years old. I wasn't at Amityville." But obviously, it's the house is iconic. I heard that they put the windows back to the way they were because somebody had changed them. I don't know. My daughter lives out there. She went to college out there in Long Island, and it's only about an hour away from there. So that's the college I'm trying to get us into, Adelphi University, if they'll let us. But Amityville is only 45 minutes, maybe an hour from there.
Right.
Wow.
But
in those situations, it could have been self-manifestation too. That's a good argument for.
I mean, you don't hear about a lot, really, cases like that today.
Mm-hmm.
They were sensationalized. I mean, there's other cases like the house in the haunting in Connecticut, Sulington home. Chris and John worked on that case. They lived with the family basically for 9 weeks. That house is 15 minutes, no more, from my house. I'd go by it a lot. And, the people claim, the people that live there, I think, have been there since 98. And they're like, yeah, nothing's ever happened there. They made it up. They were lying. But they weren't lying. They weren't lying.
You say that with Andrea Perrin. I've read all 3 books, House of Darkness, House of Light.
Yeah,
it's like great books, hard read, I'll be honest. Yeah. But it's so much more than what the media and the movies let on. And it's like, you got to stop with the sensationalization of what the media tells you and look at the case. The movies blew it way out of proportion on certain sides. Certain things were taken from the real case, and it's like, okay, where do you separate it?
Well, Hollywood takes a lot of liberties with these movies. I remember after the first Conjuring movie that this was based on, I was with Lorraine in her kitchen. We were having coffee, and I was talking to her, and I just saw the movie. It had just come out, and I was talking to her about the part where she was in the chair and it was upside down and on the ceiling, and Lorraine just looks at me. She's like, "Oh, honey, that didn't happen." I said, "Well, I figured that." But James Wan took a lot. They just take so many liberties. And Chris and I talk about this a lot. We're like, if they would just tell the story the way it happened, it'd be far more interesting than making up all this crap, where Lorraine falls through the wall into the basement. That didn't happen.
Far more terrifying.
When Ed's hanging out the window in Anfield Poltergeist, he's hanging out the window. But Ed was in no shape to be doing that, But whatever, that's Hollywood for you.
Yeah, they got to make the money somehow. I mean, a lot of these cases, they don't want to see somebody sitting for 6 hours in the dark talking to themselves. It's just like, where do you draw the line? And you got to put some entertainment in. I get it. It's like Hollywood has killed horror for me. Mm-hmm. We've seen it firsthand. All three of us have.
Yep.
We've seen stuff that would scare most people to never go to sleep again. But I don't know.
Well, I've had people say, if I'm doing a lecture and they'll say, I'm fascinated by what you do, but I never want to do it myself. It scares me too much. I'm like, well, I understand that, but this work, it's not for everybody. It's almost like for me, it was a vocation. It was a calling. And maybe you guys share that same thing, but it's not for everybody, but it just seems like these days, anybody with a camera and a computer thinks they're a ghost hunter and they can go out and do this. And then you get a phone call and like, me and my friends were at a cemetery with a Ouija board playing around, and now we've got something followed us home. And, how I feel about that stuff and the divination practices. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing trying to conjure spirits in a cemetery? At 2:00 in the morning. I mean, of course, it might be psychosomatic. It might just be in your head. But if something did follow you home, I can guarantee you it's not the person that's laying in the grave. I get that a lot, or you get a call from somebody that says, I had this team out here and they were only here for like 2 hours. Something happened that spooked them and they ran out of my house. And now they won't return my phone calls, and they just ghosted them. And then you go on their website and they're still active. I'm like, you do something like that, you better close down all your social media accounts and get the hell out of this work, because now you're playing with families' lives and emotions. And, they're like, they so I don't know what happened. They won't even call me back. They said something happened.
I'll go ahead and put it out there. It's when you say that, everybody with a computer and a Ouija board, everybody wants to be the next Zach Bagans. I'm not going to even shy away from that. They think, oh, he can do it, I can do it. Well, you know what? He's a film student. He's a failed DJ. It's like, you're not going to be on TV. The odds of being on TV. Of all my years in the paranormal, I've been on the TV once, and that was on the news. Mm-hmm. I got interviewed for an investigation over Halloween. It's like, and you say, I'll go ahead and use the client's name because he's okay with it. Aaron, I won't say his last name out of respect. Him and his wife, we investigated his house probably 7 or 8 times. They didn't care about, use the video, use the audio promotion, anything you want, use it all. Just get us answers. And it's like, we don't care if you share any of the evidence on social media. Nobody's going to recognize the inside of our house. And it's like, we just kept, every time we went back, it was new evidence and new answers. Yep. And we still I keep in contact with them every now and then. Hey Brent, how you doing? It's like, oh, you guys got, they live out in like central Northern California. When are you coming out here to investigate? Is your house haunted? No, it just gives you an excuse to come out here. So it's like, you
If you
feel
want us to
good.
visit, it's haunted.
It's when you get something like that from when you get something like that from a client, you made an impact on their lives.
Yeah.
You know that they trust you enough to come visit. I still ask about their dog. How's Zane doing? It's like it makes you feel good, and makes you feel accomplished.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, and then you get the people that charge. We talk about that too. That actually charge for the services. I'll give you a story where a friend of mine and her husband owned a restaurant/bar a couple of towns over, and she had some issues with the restaurant, and she thought they had some serious supernatural issues, and she contacted a psychic medium who charged her, and I could swear she told me somewhere in the neighborhood of $15,000 by the time she was done paying this lady. And this woman told her that she had cleared whatever was there from the building. So shortly thereafter, there was still activity going on. And she called the woman back, and she's like, well, I got rid of it. You must have brought it back. You must have invited it back. Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
I can relate to that one. We had one Pahrump, Nevada, so it's like hour and a half drive. We went out there 7 or 8 times. We actually had a guy clear the house. He's he's recognized by the church out here. Mm-hmm. He went out and cleared it, and finally it's like we had to start charging the lady for gas. After like the 3rd time, we got like, you got to at least pay for our gas coming out here. Mm-hmm. We're going an hour and a half out of our way, one way to help.
Nothing wrong with that. You pay expenses.
But when we started getting clients, okay, it's like, how much do you charge? They'd ask us that flat out. We don't charge anything. Mm-hmm. Well, I talked to, XYZ team. They wanted $200. What? It's like, no, we don't charge. We do this because we want to help you. This is what we do. It's like, well, can we at least buy you dinner? Do you want to order Domino's after the investigation? We'll hang out and, we'll sit and talk all night. No big deal. Mm-hmm. So it's, if they're going to,
go ahead.
I was saying, if they're going to feed us, I'm not going to turn down a $5 pizza. Mm-hmm. That's not asking a lot. They offered to feed us.
Right. Well, that one client we were talking about earlier, her bishop came in and charged her over $500 to come in and bless the house.
Wow.
So, when you have, the religious leaders charging, it's kind of a shocker in my opinion.
What about the ones that charge it for exorcisms?
Right.
Online. Yep. We'll do a Zoom call. I'll exorcise your house. It'll be $400.
Oh, I love those psychics who do it by Zoom calls, and you're going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what we should have done when we were in Vegas. Like the drive-through wedding chapels have a drive-through exorcism. We'd have made a lot of money.
If that's the case, can I just come set up a couple of webcams in your house? I'll investigate from my desk.
Right. You don't even have to go set them up. Just mail them to them and tell them where to put them.
I'm sorry. I had to put that. Jeff, stop.
I ignore Jeff. He's being a smart ass already.
Jeff, he's harassing me. Dana, take care of him.
Yeah.
The second you charge a client, you're not in it to help people. You're in it for your own self-worth.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to call groups out like clockwork. I'd literally call them by name and be like, okay, stay away from these people. What are they going to do? Come back and sue me for telling the truth? It's like, come on, just you're in it to help people or you're not. Mm-hmm. If you're not, step aside for the big boys.
Yeah. Right. Most of the people are just, I call them thrill seekers,
mm-hmm.
And, I wouldn't publicly shame someone, especially on a show like this, but I could think of, about 15 people right now in my head. I'd like to say something, but.
Well, we really should have called that one group out for faking photos once we proved that they faked the photos.
Well, yeah. The thing is, if you get caught faking one thing, then all your credibility is out the window. If you had any to begin with.
Yep. And
You
they're
know.
here in Florida.
Name and shame. I don't care.
Yep.
You got to shame groups like that. Otherwise, they're going to keep getting away with it. And they're
Mhm.
going to keep convincing clients and people that they're, they're the best thing since sliced bread. You can't let people keep getting away with this because it drags us down in the end.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Once they're exposed, why didn't you call them out? You faking shit too? It's
Yep. Yeah. Getting back to the drive-through exorcisms, Dana's like, check this out. Holy water humidifiers and drive-through exorcisms, $1 billion business.
holy water humidifiers.
Yeah,
That's actually a good idea.
I've heard of that one. The holy water humidifiers. That would actually work. I mean, it's holy water. Put it out.
Mhm.
To,
Just let it run all night. You'll be fine.
you'll be
Yep.
fine.
It's
For
kind of like
example-
tenting the house for termites. Just run them in one on each floor and just leave for the night.
Just get one of those bug sprayers and go around the outside of the house.
Works for me. I don't know. There's all kinds of crazy ideas out there.
Oh yeah.
We're talking about payment. If like I was in a case back, with a couple of my colleagues in New York for 5 days back in June to help a family. Of course, we don't charge, but the family put us up in the hotel, and they own 2 diners, so they actually fed us pretty well. I will say, good food. But obviously, there's if a family cannot afford to pay your expenses, what are you going to say? No, well then I'm not helping it. No, we dig into our own pockets to help them, and I'm happy to do it. I've been doing it for 37 years, and my wife could, if she was home, she'd jump on here and tell you how much in debt I am because of it. But it's not about the money. I mean, the satisfaction that you get, your payment is the feeling that you get when that family calls you and says, I haven't slept like this in months. It's gone. Whatever was here. Even if there wasn't anything paranormal going on, maybe it was just up here. Just the fact that you came out there, had coffee with them, sat at their table, maybe walked around their house, maybe did an investigation, and you didn't find anything. And you can say, look, there's nothing here in my opinion. You have nothing to worry about. Whatever the case may be. But whether they can afford to pay your expenses or not, we're still going to help you.
Yeah.
Or find someone closer or whatever, a colleague that could help you. We're never going to say no, because someone couldn't pay, for your expenses, but
No,
the
I've
charge
driven
control is crazy.
I've driven 9 hours before to help a client. Just one way. It's like, granted, probably wouldn't do that again for a while, but it's been about 10, 12 years we did that. Went down to a place called Miracle Valley, Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
The client that owned the house was a friend of the director of the team. If you guys are interested in history, look up Miracle Valley Massacre. Had to do with a religious cult and all that. It was wild. But, 9 hours, that's 3 different houses over 3 nights. And yeah, tell you that paranormal hangover driving back 9 hours was not fun.
Right. I mean, it's almost like you have to do more investigating before you even decide to take a case, because you want to make sure you're not wasting your time. Your time is valuable to you too. You don't want to spend 9 hours each way, Brent.
Yeah.
So there's 18 hours. You're driving and most likely paying for your own fuel and everything to help somebody. So you want to make really sure that they really need that kind of help. But I mean, we've all done it, and we're happy to do it to help somebody. And where I make any money would be through my lectures, or like Heather with books, which I'm working on.
You'll never get your book done.
Oh, stop! That's what
I make
I
make a little bit of money on my streams, people subscribing, and it's it's enough to get a couple pieces of new equipment here and there every few months. I don't.
balls?
What's that?
Cat balls?
No,
How much are those things anyway? Seriously.
I think those things are
$3
like
for $4.
$3 or $4. You get like a pack of 5.
Are they
It's-
really? Okay.
I'll never use them.
I was gonna say our cat has some. I'll bring some to you in September.
I got 5 cats.
I'll stick with my Eddie. I'm happy with that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But,
well, yeah, because it costs you money to have your podcasts and stuff. I mean, so it's all coming out of your pocket.
Like I said, I don't mind. I'll
No,
make enough
we
to pay my internet bill. I mean, that's, and I get to share my knowledge and my evidence with the world, whoever wants to watch. I mean, it's, as I get a lot of people come in asking questions, and I always, say this like you guys do. You have the questions, I'll stop the show and answer it, or, whatever. I like the round table more than analyzing evidence because it gives people a chance to better understand what we do. Because a lot of people don't. They think what we do, like you said, is a gimmick. There's no ghosts out there. Okay. Believe what you want.
You know what? I'm not going to try to change your mind. But maybe after you listen to what I have to say and show you, you might just think, hey, maybe he's got something there, and maybe something's possible. I haven't wasted 37 years of my life on nothing. I mean, that's what I tell people when they're like, you're full of shit. I'm not.
I saw my first spirit when I was 5. Spirit of my grandmother walking up and down the hall. She passed away from, complications of Alzheimer's. And before she died, she was known to walk up and down the hall. And I remember seeing that at 5 years old. And, I never really started investigating until 15 years ago. I'm 47. So, it took me all that time to get into it.
I had a visitor. Sorry.
Yeah, I had to shut my door to keep mine out.
Oh, my door was shut, but
I thought the spirits were messing with your curtains, but then I saw a cat tail swing down, and I was like, oh, nope, it's a cat in the window.
No, I've got 5 of them. I'm going to heaven because, you know what? They're all adopted. They're all rescue.
Yeah, I got mine out of the warehouse at work. He snuck in there when it was raining. I started leaving food out for him because I didn't want a dead cat in the warehouse. Lo and behold, I adopted him.
I'm reading the comments. Sorry, guys. Dana, I'm going to take you up on that. Dana said she'll type for me because I like to dictate. I don't like to type. So if
you need to make sure Dana understands that you don't understand what you want to talk about, that you have no plan, no outline.
I started my outline. I did. I didn't finish it. I'll be honest. I never lie.
You do realize that since you started your outline, I've already almost finished another book.
All right.
Joe, come on.
We could do a whole show.
You're kind of getting shown up here. I mean,
I will get the book done before I die.
We have fun teasing each other.
Oh,
I can't wait until we have a presentation to do here in Orlando, and it's to Ouija or not to Ouija. He's taking the not Ouija side. I'm taking the Ouija side.
Oh.
So it's going to be a book, right? Not a pamphlet?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to throw that in on her behalf.
Seriously though, I wanted to write, and Heather's helping me with like an outline. So I'm throwing all my ideas down, and then, like I said, you do the outline, and then you just fill in the stuff in between. It's all up here.
Yeah, Nicole says to do an audiobook.
Yeah, I do. I got to get that app or whatever because I like to dictate my thoughts rather than type because I have big fat fingers and So Dana, I'm going to take you up on that if you need it.
And Jeff, that is 100% true. Jeff says you get sidetracked by anacondas.
Yeah, snakes are pretty big.
Yeah, and poor Brent doesn't know what we're talking about.
No, we're not going to tell him right now. But Dana is knitting me some leg warmers.
Yeah. Last year he had a fan at Phantasm, and we ended up by the end of the convention calling him Mr. Anaconda. So your brain can go wherever it wants, and you're probably right.
Let's not bring that up. Because you know what?
Let's keep the show like PG-13.
Oh, it's almost midnight. We're good over here.
Yeah. No, we're not going to talk about that. But you know what? You need to help shield me from her because Bill tells me. I know
she'll be there this year.
And I'm going to have to stay hidden because I don't want Squeak. I call her Squeak. She would squeak when she laughed.
Heather, get her a VIP pass just for him.
I am. I'm going to make sure her booth is near his.
No.
Right next to him.
Next
The
question.
leg warmers are a 3-piece.
Next question.
Next question.
Change the subject.
Okay, Nicole, you're on. I got two people who volunteered to help me write the book.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun.
Yeah, Nicole actually writes some really interesting books too. She had me write a foreword for one of them, and I need to talk to you, Nicole, because I can't remember which book I wrote the foreword to. Someone asked me about that the other day.
Yeah, Jeff, I got a lot of experiences I haven't even told you guys about. I mean, all those years. I'm just looking at
Yeah, that old added question. It comes from
shirt.
everybody. What's the scariest thing that ever happened to you? And every time that I just get that question, I'm going, go back through the VODs and just watch the shows. I answer it almost every.
That question.
Yeah.
I don't, no disrespect to my viewers, listeners, whatever. It's one of those questions that it's like, it's a kick in the junk. It's like,
Right.
I've answered this 400 times,
Mm-hmm. And it's funny too. That's why whenever I do any of my shows, I really don't have an outline or a format, because I don't, sometimes I will ask the standard questions just to keep the interview going, but I don't want it. I want to see where the conversation, unfolds to. Because I've been on several interviews lately and it's the same questions. It's like,
well, you ask a question and then it might lead to 3 other questions.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need an agenda, really. I don't. I just shoot from the hip. Just fire away. And we always get into a discussion about certain things. And the next thing you know, it's like, oh, we're getting kicked off the air here.
Oh,
The first hour just vaporized.
Well, when John was on, holy crap, we only had an hour at the time, and I had to interrupt them while they were talking to end the show because there was a show on after ours.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, it's great to talk to veteran people like yourselves because we have a lot in common. Yeah. We've been around, and we got to teach people like Jeff stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I love you, Jeff.
Yeah. I'll sit down all night and teach people. I mean, Heather knows this. I've taught new investigators, and it doesn't get frustrating for me because they're so eager to learn. It's like that. Okay, now I've taught you. Now you go with them for an hour.
Right.
I've given you the top of my knowledge range, and that's hopefully you take it and make it your own.
Yep.
It's new investigators are the fun ones.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're at a museum and they end up running out the door.
Yeah.
You were there for that one, Heather. I'll go ahead and it was a museum. I won't say which one. We're having a training session for new members. A guy and a girl were part of it, and the guy basically walked out and waited in the car for his girlfriend. He's like, I don't want to deal with this.
Yep.
It's like, you can't deal with a Casper the Friendly Ghost. What's going to happen when you get on a residential and you get thumped?
Well, like I said earlier, not everyone is cut out for this work.
Mm-hmm.
And people need to face that fact.
It's like, we didn't realize it was going to be like this. Did you think it was going to be like TV? Well, yeah. Turn off the TV, please.
Yeah. I missed that location. That's where we got the where Aiden captured the dinosaur growl.
Yeah.
Or what we think is a dinosaur growl. And lots of good experiences there.
And I will say, the shows, I'll go ahead and say Destination Fear. When they did Nevada State Prison, I got the same evidence that they got on the show. Mm-hmm. I saw them at Pair Unity out here in Vegas, and I pulled them to the side and started talking to him about evidence. And, he asked him what didn't make the show. The response shocked me a lot. Mm-hmm. It's like, we need to talk some more. Mm-hmm. So I tell these new investigators, don't watch the shows if you want to investigate. It's just going to corrupt you. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be a serious investigator if you go out and buy every little piece and tool you see on TV.
Well, that's their training, Brent. So these people, their only training are these TV shows. And like you said earlier, I could do that.
Oh, I want to see a demon. No, you don't. No, you don't. And that goes back to earlier.
Thousands of years from now, people are going to see those shows as historical documents.
Yeah. I mean, the old cliche, be careful what you wish for. You know, it's like, you know, Ed Warren used to tell me, he's like, Joe, he's like, spirits come on their time, not on your time. You could try and conjure something, and 10 years later, something happened, and you never put 2 and 2 together. But they'll wait. They'll wait until you're at your lowest, most vulnerable point, weakest point, and then they could strike.
Yep.
You know, there's no time or distance in the spirit world. At least,
No, it's funny you mentioned that. I'll throw Nevada State Prison. I had one of the spirits ask for me, and I wasn't even there. The lady, Susan, was given a tour. She always turns a spirit box on when she takes the tours through the spirit box. Where's Brent? She had to stop the tour and explain to them who I was. So when you say on the timeline, it's not necessarily on the same timeline. You get something like that, you know, 6 months later. It's like going, do the spirit, are they that intelligent? They miss me. It's like, go, wow.
Field trip.
They're planning your next visit, what they're going to do to you.
Trying to read the comments here. Do we have any questions we have to answer here?
I don't think so. But Nicole, thank you for the book. It was My Haunted Travels, Haunted California. I knew it was something about Haunted California, but that was a good book.
Paranormal State. Oh God.
Love that. Makes you feel special. It does make you feel special. You're like, these spirits remember my name. I mean, wow. It's also kind of eerie. You have prisoners, convicted murderers remembering your name. It's like, oh, wow.
It's funny,
or maybe it's someone who was wrongly convicted.
But hey, at the end of the day, I don't talk to them like they're convicted. I talk to them like I talk to you guys. I make jokes. I do all that just because every other team goes in there. Hey, you killed somebody. What was it like to die?
It's because they're idiots.
Thank you. Oh, I didn't want to go down that road, but thank you.
I'll say it.
No, you're right.
I mean, because they're giving people like us a bad rap. They make us look bad. Like, we are the serious people that are here to do good work and help people. That's it. You know, we're not looking for fame or glory or TV shows. Don't care about any of that stuff.
The typical questions: who are you? How'd you die? When you die?
Questions that I teach people not to ask.
Right. Well, Aiden learned from you, and he doesn't ask the typical questions. He thinks outside of the box.
Yeah. What was that? Is tomato a fruit or vegetable, or what was that question?
That was one of them, and then is the earth round or flat was the other one, and he got answers to both of them.
I remember that. It's like when he said, we were at the museum when he said that.
Yeah.
It was like, that's a good freaking question.
Yeah.
It's like
you told him to ask questions outside of the box, and that's what he came up with.
Well, I mean, you watch all these shows, and you're like, are there any spirits here that want to communicate with me? You know, move this, you know, open this cabinet or open this door. I'm like, oh, come on. It's just, what is theatrics?
Trick ponies.
If they want to communicate, they would. They don't need your permission.
You know, the old adage when I say think outside the box, I investigated a brothel, the Happy Burrow in Beatty, Nevada. And I think I'd been in the field maybe 5 years. Up in one of the bedrooms, I asked, were your clients only men? It's like, and everybody looks at me like, why would you ask that question? Because nobody else did. It's like, we got a response of no. And you're like going, this just took on a whole new meaning right there. It's like going, okay. It's like, then you just get a ration of, you know what, from the whole team the entire night. Hey, Brent, what do you got to say next? Give me time. But yeah, outside the box, I always tell people that, and you'd be surprised what people will say.
Yep. Yeah. Aiden still refers to that whenever we, I think he brought it up last year at Phantasm during the paranormal Q&A. He talked about, you know, how he needs to ask outside of the box questions. And those are the questions he asked.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That shows that's a sign of a great investigator in the future is, you know, referring back to what he was taught on that. And he's carrying it on to future investigators already. And he's only been in the field, what, 3 years now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
he doesn't do it as much as I do, but he still enjoys it. And he comes up with some interesting questions. Like one of them was Bigfoot. What if it's the ghost of a caveman?
What was that again? I missed that.
Bigfoot, the ghost of a caveman. Because we can never find him. Type of thing. He comes and goes and disappears. Yeah. So that's his theory on Bigfoot. So he comes up with some things that make you think.
Well, no. So, yeah, he did ask some good questions. But the stuff that it's canned. Everyone's like, oh, if this is the gates of hell, why don't you rise up here and get me? Yeah, okay. All right, buddy.
That's why some people have medical conditions and need polarizing glasses 24/7.
Well, and it's sad that havpened.
Yep.
But it's true. Look at what happened to Barry.
Yep. Yeah, poor Barry. I've talked to him recently, and he's still having issues.
Is he okay now, or?
He's okay, but he's now having personal issues. He's still not 100% healthy because he's still fighting the side effects of kidney and liver failure.
Wow.
Well, I mean, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've got tinnitus in the left ear from the paranormal.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that's annoying as hell all day long.
Yeah.
So, I learned quick in my beginning years not to do something stupid.
Yep.
I learned early and I stopped. It's like, okay.
And if you do, you learn from that. And you don't make the same mistake twice. But
we try not to make the same mistake twice, but sometimes we do.
Well, but don't expect a different result.
I don't provoke. I did it at NSP. One of the convicted. He deserved to be provoked. I'm just going to say he deserved it. Prisoner's name was Neil Pitney. You can look it up if you want to. He basically he murdered his mother, decapitated her, and did some bad things to her. So went into his cell, and I provoked the you know what out of him. I went in there with all the your mama jokes. I even left a happy birthday mom card in his cell. So and I can see Heather biting her lip on this one. She's like, Brent, you know better. But, it's like.
I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall to watch that.
Oh, I've got the video if you want to watch it. But not really a lot of responses out of it. I made, I can't remember what joke I made, but we got an EVP of that was good. Oh, well,
Mm-hmm.
That's not in my nature to provoke anymore, but you get the opportunity, you might want to jump on it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've done a lot of religious provocation, and well, not a lot, but I mean when it's called for.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like in the movies where you provoke a response like immediately. So you gotta be careful. I mean, like I said before, they're gonna wait until you're at a point where you're vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny you say that with the religious provocation. When I was doing an EVP session in one of the last night cells, I asked the spirits to pray with me, to say the Lord's Prayer with me. It's like, okay, but it's like these men are getting ready to be led into the other room. Mm-hmm. They're going to pray. So asking it, I figured that'd be the perfect time to try something religious.
Mm-hmm.
I may be off base on that, but it worked.
Well, I mean, if you're dealing with something really dark, that may spark a response. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
I played a joke on one of my fellow investigators. This is probably 30 years ago. And Ed put me up to it. But, usually if someone is oppressed, God forbid, possessed, they have, an aversion to religious objects, holy water, the Bible, crucifix. So I happened to cup in my hand. I had a crucifix, a blessed crucifix. And I just went up to him and put it on the back of his neck. I'm like, "Hey, buddy, how are you?" And he knew what I was up to, and I did that. And he's like, he started yelling at me. He was mad. I'm like, "See, you're possessed." I'm joking, of course.
Why are you so angry?
I do that. I do it. What else we got here for questions?
No, we're good. Jeff asked a question already, but Dana put him in his place.
About EMF? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
he said, serious question. A lot of equipment is EMF based. Why does EMF equal a spirit? And then Dana said, Jeff, you're too late. They covered that earlier. Basically.
It doesn't. Jeff, you know that. You're just trying to trip us up.
Because the TV shows say so.
Well, yeah. Well, there's your answer. Because, Zach said so.
It's from the Bible of Zach Bagans. Go read Ghost Hunting for Dummies.
I was going to say Ghost Hunting for
He's laughing
Dummies.
all the way to the bank, though. I mean,
Like, I have the original one that he had to take off the market because he didn't give the right credit where it was due. So that first edition had to be yanked. And it's like, really?
His ghostwriter messed up.
He can't help it.
Yeah, if you really want to see somebody who's really full of himself, read his books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know somebody else that's full of himself that Jeff wants me to talk about, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not taking the bait.
I'm missing it, but Dana wants to know where you stand on the Estes method.
I've never used it.
I did, but I would answer myself.
Like I've used the
question and answer.
I've used the Gansfield, and that I love doing that when I'm able to.
Mm-hmm.
Had some really interesting experiences with that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I like the Estes method because it eliminates the self-manifesting and psychic imprints on the audio recorder because you don't know what's being asked. And I like it when you do it in a separate room and they're doing it via the a walkie-talkie.
Okay.
Because then you're not even in the same room with the others, so they can't imprint on the audio recorder.
Yeah, I've only tried it once, but I got yelled at because I was asking the questions and I had the headset on. And they're like, "You're not supposed to do it that way." I said, "Oh, shut up. I'll do what I want."
I know one experiment Mike Cardenas talked about on my other show. They do cell phones for EVPs. What they do is they put one cell phone on speakerphone in the room with the digital voice recorder, and then they go outside and get on the other phone and answer the questions through the phone, and they get quite a lot of responses.
Even do that through walkie-talkies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yep.
Eliminates the
cell signal.
Eliminates just the cell signal. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, try. You can experiment with things all you want. It's just, even if you capture something interesting, it doesn't prove anything.
Baby monitors.
Yep.
Nicole, good. I like that.
Yeah.
A lot of people are using those now.
Mm-hmm.
Ring cameras, all that stuff.
But then a lot of people are also using the baby monitors and they think their baby's possessed because there was an orb.
I've heard some weird stuff come through baby monitors.
Yeah.
It's like you're going, wait a minute, nobody was in the house. Is it picking up a radio signal?
Right.
Close to a radio station somewhere? I don't know.
Yeah. I
like these YouTube shows like Slapped Ham and stuff like that. I do watch them and I just laugh my ass off because, they may show something that's interesting, but then it cuts off and there's no other explanation. I'm sitting there going, wait, I got about 1,000 questions. Or you'll see something in the background or the camera pans by real quick. And I'm screaming at the TV going, show me something. Then my wife's like, who are you yelling at? I'm screaming at the TV. She's like,
I'm glad I'm not alone on that one.
It drives me nuts, though. It's like, you can't just throw that out at us and not offer any answers.
Well, that was, what was it? Paranormal State. They had an episode and they were scanning the attic.
Paranormal Fate.
And it looked like an arm, which could have been a mannequin arm. But then they went to commercial. And then they came back on, and I'm sorry, but if you're scanning the attic and they're going to show an arm, you at least want to explain it. Like have the investigator saying, oh, look what we caught. Oh, it's just a mannequin. But it was just like, I'm yelling at the TV like, hey, go back. and they never brought it up.
Well, of course it is. And so it's like the ones where one episode, I won't even mention the show because I'm going to get haters out there probably, but these guys are investigating this lighthouse and they're up in the attic. I think it was this lighthouse, yeah. And there's a chair, just conveniently positioned up there. They said it was there, but somebody put it there. And they're filming the chair. They get the camera on the chair, and the chair moves. All right. Now, the thing is, I knew some of the people on the production crew, and they told me that they tied fishing line to the chair, and they're laughing about it. And I'm like, okay, well then that means all credibility's out the window for this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I suspected that anyway, because you could see it was jerked, but the fishing line, it was dark, so you couldn't see it. And they're like, oh yeah, we had, and I said, well, did the people know, the so-called investigators know that you did that? They go, yeah, everybody was in on it.
Yeah, welcome to the Goldfield Hotel episode of You Know Who with the flying brick.
Oh, I love that episode though.
There was a string attached to the brick. Why do I know this? Because I know who pulled the string.
Yeah. Yeah.
And always get permission before you investigate and not after and ask for forgiveness.
Or don't do damage to the place and have to pay $20,000 to get back in.
Yeah, that too.
Did I say that out loud?
It's okay. You're amongst friends here.
I don't know. It's tough because there's some places I've called to try to get into to investigate or even to host an event, and they want $5,000 to $10,000 for one night. And when you ask them why so much, just because you're curious, they say because they were on such and such show.
Yeah, well, of course. I know the Mark Twain House here in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to get in there a number of times, years and years ago, and then when Ghost Hunters show offered them like $20,000, like a contribution or donation, they let them in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, I'm not going to pay you to investigate the place. I would have loved to, but I'm not going to pay you. I mean, I'm here to help you if you need help, but I'm not going to drum up business for you. I had a restaurant once where the guy asked us to come check it out, and he was really scared and blah, blah, blah. And when we got there, he had a sandwich board sign out front saying, we're going to be there. And I'm like, why are you announcing this? We're going to do it after they closed, after hours. He had about 20 to 30 people. They were all like his friends. Oh, yeah, I told them you were coming. I'm like, no, we're not doing this. I'm not some sideshow freak for you to drum up business. Got an alleged haunted restaurant. So, his business picked up after that. But that upset me a lot. That had been like 25 years ago.
Yep. And I didn't realize what time it was, but we have 2 minutes.
That's all right. We got another hour. Todd, do we have another hour? It's only what, 9:00 in Nevada.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm good for another hour if you guys want to go. I mean,
I don't know if we can.
But, Heather yells at me.
I don't yell at you.
Much.
Todd says whatever we want. It's up to you guys.
I can go longer if you guys want.
I don't know. Ask the audience. You guys gonna hang or no?
Dana says yes. Nicole says it's only 9 p.m. there, so I'm sure she's in for it.
Yeah,
I know I got a couple people watching from my show. They're like one's in Oregon. I don't know where the other one's at, but yeah, they're up for it too. I guarantee it.
Yeah, whatever you guys want to do.
I was only kidding, but if you guys want to, I'm gonna curl up on the bed with the cat in a minute. I don't mind. What do you want to talk about next? We could. I know what Jeff wants me to talk about, but I can't. I can't because you might have friends and I'll have haters.
I'm afraid to ask, but we want to keep our show on the air. So I said we want to keep our show on the air.
Yeah, we can't just sit here and go, what do you think? No, what do you think? I don't know. What do you think? What do you want to eat? I don't know. What do you want? It's like,
no, it just has to do with people and their egos. People that had TV shows and then stole money
Like-
from people. And
One of the guys I work with was a tour guide at whose museum,
Mm-hmm.
and he one day just he knew there was a ghost hunter in the building, and I was in the kitchen one day. He's like, "Oh my God, you're the investigator." So he started asking me what I thought about whose episodes. You really want the truth? So he started telling me about what goes on at the museum. He's like, you would not have any idea what the turnaround is for employees at the museum. People don't stay there and work because of the activity. And it's like, oh, really? He goes, I haven't watched this episode. Go watch it and tell me what you think. And it was like, okay. So I tell him the secrets and stuff. And he's like, finally goes, what do you think of Lake of Death? Going, I'll go watch it tonight and I'll tell you tomorrow. He's like, I want to watch it. I just want to know if it's worth it. So it's like, I go back. It's like, well, one of my friends actually interviewed with him and gave him the old fashioned, you knew what Zach was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a good episode. Don't get me wrong. I want to go do the tunnels at Lake Mead.
Yeah.
And it's like, I told him it's worth it. Just be ready for the normal. He's like, have you investigated the museum? It's like, no, but I've been there 6 times. 5, actually 5. I take that back. I want to go do the flashlight tour. And I told him, it's like, I want to go have an hour alone with Peggy the doll. Every time I go in there, I have interaction with the doll. I used to have a friend, if you've ever watched the, what was it? Bonnie Springs Ranch episode. It was like season 1 or 2. The guy that was with him, Joe Tasso. I made good friends with him back then. He remembered me when I went to the museum. So he would have the tour guides use me as bait. Send him in first to see if we get activity. He can conjure it up. So we get into Peggy's room. They say, introduce yourself. And always say goodbye when you leave. And it's like I'd walk in, hey Peggy, hey Brent, right through the spirit box. People would turn around and walk out of the room. They wouldn't go in. It's like, is it really that scary for you? That this last time I went, I swear to God, I'll never go back. I walked into the museum and I felt like hurting somebody. The tour guides had to watch me the entire tour. It's like, Brent, you okay? No, I'll just stay back. Just leave me be. They literally had to make sure that I didn't need to be escorted out. They about every 6 months they get new additions, and this recent one with the head of it's a skull of a priest. I don't know what's attached to that, but it is nasty. I was standing outside and I started getting that vibe. Like, I shouldn't do this. I should not be in this right now. I need to go. I had to force myself to go in. I forced myself to pay to go in. I could have just turned around and walked away and saved $60, but I wish I hadn't got in. And I tell everybody, be careful going in the museum. It is actually not a joke. It's the only truly paranormal thing Zach has done. So,
yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, go to Vegas. If you guys come out here, we should all do that. Do the flashlight tour of the flashlight investigation of the museum.
Yep.
It's I think it's like $200 a person. You get it for like 4 or 5 hours. So it'd be worth it to get a group of seasoned investigators in there and see what you can get.
Yeah.
Not just the people who are enamored by the TV shows.
The tourists.
You probably wouldn't want real investigators in there.
Yeah, it's like just to watch people walk out after you get a response to the spirit box. It's one of the most classic feelings in the world because the tour guides are like, why, Brent? You were told to use me as bait. We got evidence. Now they don't want to see the museum. What do? You just basically just call them on their own game.
Yeah.
But I want to get.
Unfortunately, it is what it is. these people are here to stay, and there's always going to be people following them that love them and think they're the bee's knees. And people like us that just call them out on stuff, and we know what we're talking about. That they're like, oh, well, you're just jealous you don't have a TV show. Okay.
Yeah.
You keep telling yourself that. That's not it.
Or my favorite is, why are you even a paranormal investigator if you don't believe? It's like, it's not that I don't believe. I just don't believe the photo or the video you're sharing with me is evidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like you said, there's two types of people: ghost hunters and paranormal investigators. You got your weekend warriors, and you got us.
Yep.
And you know what? The funny thing is, the people that we're talking about know exactly who they are.
Mm-hmm.
But they won't admit it because their egos won't let them admit it.
And that's why I started using the term paranormal researcher more than investigator or ghost hunter, because we do more than just investigate.
Good point. Mm-hmm. I said, I've been asked several times, would you take your own TV show? One contingency: it's all real. I'm not faking one iota of evidence. It ain't going to happen. The second you want me to fake anything, cancel it. I'm done.
Yep.
Because if you remember,
that was what we discussed before we started filming our documentary. And they agreed to it, which is why there's no evidence shared in the documentary, because we didn't capture any. So instead, we just talked about the history.
Well, it's just it. You just spent 3 days out filming, you captured nothing, so you got to make something up.
Right. That's
what they do. I mean, you don't get the evidence. You don't go into a place for a half hour, an hour. You don't go into a place for a couple of days and film and get enough evidence or whatever to fill a half hour, an hour show. I mean, it just doesn't happen that way. And I get that. I mean, how many times we spent days, weeks in people's houses or places of business because they have claims of activity, and we don't get anything. And then we're like, well, I don't know. Every night it does this. I'm like, well, it's not happening while I'm here. Yep. Can't explain that. But of course, now they're spending all this money on a TV show. You got to have something to show your viewers, so it's got to be palatable for them to get what? To get another season, another episode, and that all equates into dollars, money. Same thing with the movies. Let's make it more interesting. Just make a bunch of shit up that sounds interesting and it's scary. And you know what? Hey, if you're into horror films and stuff like that for entertainment purposes, that's fine. But tell people the truth. Tell them it's for entertainment purposes only. And it's not based on factual data, because it's not.
Just like the phone apps do for entertainment purposes only. Do it for TV. What's the harm?
Bonkers.
Well, it's like when we filmed for the TV pilot. We were in Goldfield for 2 days, and even though we had tons of personal experiences, inside the house and on the property, I went through all of my evidence again, and I have nothing but one photo that could be paranormal. I mean, no audio evidence, no video evidence, nothing.
Yep.
And that was, we were there filming for a TV show.
You didn't capture it on film or audio or anything. I'm like, well, I know what happened to me. I know what I saw. But if you can't prove it, well, I'm just making that up. Oh, something just touched me. I could lie with the best of them if I wanted to, but I have integrity, and it's not for sale.
Yeah.
Well,
that was the one where they asked you the same question they asked me about the Nevada Triangle. And I just kind of sat there staring at the camera. And then so when they had Brent on camera interviewing him, I'm on my phone on the side Googling.
I had to make something up. I'm like, what's his face? I can't remember the guy's name. He just said, just talk. He goes, just make something up. It's like, I'm going to try. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yep.
It's, I don't know. If I don't know, I'll say it. And I even told the guy, I don't know. He goes, just talk.
Yep.
I'm going to be blowing smoke, but I'll talk. Dan is asking, what's the craziest fake evidence you've ever been shown?
Wow.
Craziest? I don't know.
As far,
I'm not saying people are faking stuff, but like homeowners. First thing we tell people is don't investigate in your own home. But people will show you videos and stuff. Mostly it's like orbs and you know, it may be fake, but you know, they're not making it up. They truly believe in their mind it's real.
Yep.
You know, I can't remember the last time someone actually fabricated something.
Oh, I have one, and I use them in my demonstrations. It's 3 different locations in Vegas:
Really?
a hotel, an office building, and a park, all 15 miles plus apart from each other. One was in Henderson, one was in North Las Vegas, and one was in downtown Vegas. And it was the picture of the same girl, same outfit in all of the photos. And when you do a reverse image of the girl, the iPhone Ghost app pops up. And this person swore, even after I called them out on it, that it was real.
Or we could just be honest and say 25 seasons of GA.
Yeah, that too.
It's crazy, 25 seasons of it. But the craziest I've been shown. Probably there was a paranormal team. I forget where it was. They were investigating an old house basement in a dirt floor. You know where I'm going with this. Dust particles up. Look at the spirit of all the people who died in this house. It used to be a funeral home. You're on a dirt floor. The flash from the camera is taking a picture of the dirt and the dust. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yep. Or every season of Paranormal Caught on Camera.
How about every show ever? You know, I haven't seen every show ever, but
you know, there's out of all of them, and like Holzer Files, of course, a great show. They brought up, some of Holzer's former cases. Was it was it his daughter or granddaughter? I think it was his daughter.
I think it's his daughter.
Alexandria.
Yeah.
His daughter.
That was bringing up his past cases was very interesting. I'll use Destination Fear now. Project Fear, I think it is on YouTube. I know some of the stuff they've gotten was real, but of course, entertainment, you got to throw that in there for the viewers. I stopped watching. What was the other one? Ghost Hunters.
Yep.
Yeah, that after the. Yeah, I got that. They were East. You know those guys more than I would. The being an East Coast team. Was like, no. Then of course, being local, of course, everybody throws Zach at you. Oh, do you know Zach? No. It's like, but yeah, crazy that probably the dust. Thank you. There was hundreds of spirits. It's like going, no, come on.
Well, I mean, if you're referring to people actually, like Heather, you just said they actually faked this evidence, right? And they were trying to fool you. I mean, I don't know if that's happened. Well, it probably has, but can't remember anything. But I get a lot of things where people are like, oh, I caught this in my house or whatever, and they want to know what I think. And like, well, I think you got nothing to worry about. It could be explained as this, or this. Well, are you sure? Because I was watching this episode. I'm like, oh God, let me stop. Well, let me stop it. Don't worry about it. I said, has anybody been harmed? Is there anything going on? Are there dishes flying around and chairs levitating? Well, no, but I got these orbs. I'm like, don't worry about it. Nothing's gonna hurt you. It's almost like they're willing something to happen because it's exciting, it's fun. To have something happen. I'm like, no, it's not. Why don't you ask some of the real families we worked with who are terrified and ask them if it was fun.
The children who don't even want to go to sleep in their own beds because they're terrified. You're going.
Yeah. One of my biggest pet peeves is when someone's afraid to go in their own house or go into a room, a basement, an attic of your own house. I'm like, wait, you're paying a mortgage or you're paying rent. And this is where you live. And you're afraid, well, I wait for my husband to come home before I go in the house. I'm like, well, I don't go down in the basement and do laundry because shit happens down there.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is your house. And a lot of times there's really not much happening. But one of the first questions I ask people is, how many of these TV shows do you watch? Oh, we watch them all. We love them. Oh, do you have a favorite? And they always do. Just about everyone. Some people like, oh, we never watch that stuff, but you don't know if they're being truthful. You got to take them at their word. But when they just start describing stuff, one lady was describing something. I'm like, I think that was just on an episode of, such and such last week. But that's why I said you got to do a lot of investigating before you decide to take a case, because you're going to waste your time. My time is valuable. Your time is valuable. You want me to drive, I don't know if it's around the corner or if it's an hour away for some BS claim. And again, a lot of people may really feel in their minds that something's going on, but I hate to think someone would actually just make something up just to get you over to their house. But I'm sure it happens.
You're obviously not in enough Facebook groups about hauntings.
I couldn't. I'd lose my mind. I'm losing my mind right now, just what we're talking about. I'm
slowly leaving those groups because they're like, I don't know, except for I do like watching when some people try to argue. It's like, get the popcorn.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, and I tell people in our foundation, don't engage with these people. Even though you're 110% right, nobody wins these arguments. This social media stuff, and I don't engage in it. And sometimes it's hard. I got to bite my tongue. My mouth's probably bleeding today. But nobody wins those arguments. You just both end up foolish. And then their friends start piling on, and then your friends start piling on. And it turns into this big battle on social media, and
I like poking the bear every now and then. I see the stuff. It's just so ridiculous. I got to throw my 2 cents in.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. It's just that, then they start ganging up on you, right?
Then I just delete the comment and let them keep arguing. I'll literally let the argument start, then I'll just delete my comment and just watch everybody just continue. And I'm sitting back going, what did I just start?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like I was tagged to back somebody up on something that it was a spider web in a video, a night vision video. Mm-hmm. And all I commented was, yes, I agree with you. That's from my experience. That's what it looks like, on video. Well, the person who was sharing the video was like, I respect your opinion and I respect you as an investigator, but you're wrong.
Then what did you ask me for?
I'm like,
oh, those are the best.
You get somebody that's going to say, hey, you got something there.
What do you think I have here? Oh, you're wrong. You asked me what I thought, not what it actually was. Come on.
Yeah, that's why I always phrase it that way. In my opinion, my humble opinion, I believe you're fine. This is what it probably is. That way it gets you out of Dodge. It's like, well, okay, if you don't believe me or you don't accept my explanation, that's fine. Yep. We'll agree to disagree. See you later.
Yep.
Don't send me any more stuff.
Or getting back to the TV shows, when you show up to do a residential investigation and they're there drinking wine with all of their friends, and then they want to know where your film crew is.
How'd that happen?
Yeah, I have too.
Oh, we did that. We did that one up in the Northwest.
Yes.
With remember her roommate came home, and the one of her friends was deaf.
Yeah.
He asked to join in the investigation. And I was like, right then, I'm like, yeah, he can join. I wanted a different perspective, having a deaf person investigate, because that leads to a very curious question is, what senses of theirs are heightened having somebody, thank God she was an interpreter, sign language interpreter, so she could tell us what he was saying. It's like going, this is very fascinating, having a deaf paranormal team. That'd be, I think that'd be good.
Maybe there's an idea for a new show.
Be a lot of closed captions, but it'd be good. I don't mean to joke about that. I don't, but
no.
It's interesting. But it's like we had, I think, 2 of her friends joined in. One of them being the deaf guy. Then a roommate came home and started drinking, and she didn't want us there. She was afraid of what we were going to uncover. Lo and behold, her deceased son came through the spirit box, and it almost closed the investigation right there. It was like, I was heartbroken. We were there for a deceased roommate, and her deceased son came right through, and she started crying, and we had to pretty much stop the investigation.
Did she know you were coming, and did you
Yes.
have her permission? Okay, 'cause that hits a good point, because, and this is for the investigators, is if you're called in on an investigation, ask the people if they own the house, because we've run into that years and years ago where the landlord lived on the first floor, and the people didn't own the house, and the landlord got really upset.
Well,
Can't
this
blame
girl,
them.
the girl that called us owned the house.
Right.
She was renting the room out to somebody else, so she really had no say so.
Gotcha.
And it was like, she was like, I didn't want you guys here, and this is why. But it did give her, in the end, it gave her a little bit of closure. But it's a dangerous road. Even renting with a roommate, it's like, I don't want them there. You got to have a little bit of respect there as well. But if you want to get them answers, you got to do it.
Yeah, I know when we did McCall School of Mines for one of our first events that we hosted there, one of the girls who came from Witches Paranormal Society, she's not fully deaf, but very, very hard of hearing, to where she does need to either read your lips or, you have to use sign language for her to understand you. And she had some amazing interactions. She was pulling me to the side, telling me the things that she was hearing, and it was, coming through louder than what she hears normal when people talk to her. And it was very interesting to hear her perspective during that investigation.
That might not be an interesting way, as like for like a future book or something for you guys, or something is paranormal from the deaf, and see how many people you could get to give their input. I think that'd be a great scientific experiment with that.
I'll get right on that one, Heather.
What was that?
I write my other book. I'll get on that one.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
so that book will never be out.
You got to get the first one done first.
I know. I know. I'm full of it. I've been trying to write it for 20 years.
You're going to get it from me now that I know this. So
that's fine.
It's all in fun.
That's fine. I told Heather, just hit me in the face with a shovel.
A cast iron skillet might work better.
Next month you probably will when I see you.
I'll have more than a dozen out before you have your one out.
All right. It's not a competition.
I'm just teasing.
I know you are.
Just saying, instead of Anaconda, you could call him Shovel Face now.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, well, some of the things they call me I can't repeat. Oh, wow. What else we got?
Just checking out the comments here real quick. Everybody's just been...
Autism and the paranormal, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that would be, oh God. Like I said, I've mentioned the deaf, but then you get into people with other disabilities.
Oh, yeah, I mean my wife works in a group home with handicapped folks.
Yeah.
Developmental disabilities. I mean, yeah. I mean, they can have heightened senses or be more in tune to this. I believe that. But we're gonna take the group home on a field trip to the haunted house. I hope she didn't hear that.
Oh no.
She's at work right now. I think she was listening, but I think she went.
Oh, she watches in every once in a while.
Yeah, I'll know tomorrow morning when she comes home. And I get hit again.
Yeah.
Oh, we're in trouble for that one.
Yeah. Because one theory, and Nicole brought it up with Alzheimer's, do they know they're dead? One theory I have is when they start having the, where they remember life and they think that they're, back in their 20s. Is it because they're kind of in that in-between stage where they're almost crossed over and they're, moving on to their next life? And that, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like they're not really remembering their life back in their 20s. They're actually already moving over onto the other side.
Kind of like a regression.
You're right.
Interesting.
Yeah. There's a lot of questions that we will never know the answers to in this lifetime.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of good questions that I want to know answers to, but until it's my time, I guess I'm not going to know.
Yeah, all I know is when I was in the hospital last year for the heart test for those 3 days, I got no sleep because the lady who was my roommate, she was being sent home on hospice, but she had broken her hip, so she was there healing, and her relatives or all the spirits of them were like all hanging around and talking all night long. And she was talking back to them, and it's like I could see them in shadows on the other side of the curtain, and nobody was in the room with her. And I'm just like, oh, I want another room. But how do you explain to your nurses that you can't sleep because there's spirits?
They probably understand.
Just like that.
Yeah, I'm like, they won't shut up. Can I get another room?
Yeah.
And even my mom saw him when she came to visit me.
Well,
so I knew I wasn't crazy.
That's very true. My mother-in-law, we had kept her. Well, she was at my sister-in-law's house in a hospital bed, and she had cancer, and she was dying, unfortunately, very young, 50 years old. And I remember just out of the blue one day, she's like, "I'm leaving," and my wife's like, "Ma, what do you mean you're leaving?" She goes, "In an hour, I'm leaving." I kid you not, almost an hour to the second is when she passed. And she would be in the bed waving to somebody. And she's like, "Ma, who are you waving at?" And she's like, "I'm waving at your father," because her father had passed. I believe it. She saw, they came to bring her over and welcome her over. I mean, if that's what you believe, I believe it. And I believe anything's possible. I have an open mind about just about everything, except for these TV shows.
Yeah, Nicole has a quick question. She says, what does it mean when you hear a bell out of nowhere and spirits say it's Archangel Gabriel? And she said that happened to her the other night.
It means an angel got its wings. I don't know. Jimmy Stewart.
It's a wonderful life.
Yeah. It's a good question. I'm sorry, Nicole.
It is a good question.
I don't know the answer to that one.
Yeah. If you hear a bell, I mean, maybe it does mean that. I don't know.
It could mean an angel is watching over you, a negative spirit there, and you hear that bell, and it's the bell clearing the air for you. I don't know.
Doppelgangers are real.
Yeah, doppelgangers are real. I've seen them.
Yep.
A couple times.
Yeah, what was it? I think it was it Bill's case where the one lady in the house kept seeing a spirit, and then a woman was driving by the home and something told her to go to that home. So she went and knocked on the front door. And when the lady who owned the home opened the door, freaked out because that was the spirit she had been seeing in her home. So the girl had been astral projecting into this person's home.
Possible, sure.
Don't remember that one.
The Maurice Theriault case, if you remember that one, Chris actually worked on that one. Maurice was in the house, and then somebody came in the house and said, "No, he's outside in the yard or whatever." It was like, well, he couldn't have been. He's been in the house here all day or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I believe it. Unless they're twins.
What is it? The old adage: if you see your doppelganger, it means you're going to die. There's no wives' tale on that one, but I've seen my doppelganger on investigations.
Yeah, that's what Dana was asking. She said, does it always have to be a negative thing? And I don't think so.
No.
Might be
negative. That's
might
what
be
everybody focuses on, though.
Yes. It might be a warning from yourself not to go any further. Be like that's your subconscious projecting, telling you to stop, because if you go any further, you might not know what's down the road. You're going to dig in too deep. So it might be a warning. Who knows? Yep. It might be, I don't know.
Right. Well, it's like they say the Tommy knockers were the ones that caused the mines caving in, when in reality, they could have been warning people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are other explanations for things. But if you're looking at TV and Hollywood, they want us to believe everything's negative because that's what scares people, and that scare factor is what makes them money. People like to be scared. They don't want to be involved in it themselves. They just like to watch it on TV and watch other people get scared.
Mhm.
Well, at least they're consistent.
Yeah.
Look up the horror movies based on, real events.
Mhm.
Virtually every horror movie in some aspect is taken loosely from other stories that really
Mhm.
happened. And you're going, okay. It's
Yep.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, that was from what, Ed Gein or something, I
Mhm.
think.
Yep.
So they're very loosely based on true stories, and it's
Mhm.
Nightmare on Elm Street, loosely based on a true story.
Emphasis
She's
on the loosely. Yeah.
very loosely.
Well, it's like I
But
just came in the research that I was doing for an upcoming presentation, the Philip project or the Philip experiment. I talk about that a lot in my presentations, and I didn't realize The Quiet Ones was based on that. And I watched the preview for it the other day, and now I can't wait to watch it.
Oh, I thought you meant The Quiet Man. I would like that movie.
No, The Quiet Ones. It looks really good. It's about a professor that pulls his students together. And the loosely based part is that they self-manifested activity to torture this woman in the house.
Really? I just saw Haunted Mansion,
The new one or the old one?
the new one, and it
No.
sucked. Sorry.
I'm honestly waiting for the new Exorcist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks like it's pretty interesting, but nothing's going to beat the original.
No.
Nothing's going to beat the original. That one for 1973. What is it, 1973? That movie was very well done.
Yep.
Ellen Burstyn's coming back though. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I wonder why they didn't bring back what's her name there, Linda Blair.
Linda Blair.
But yeah, Haunted Mansion. Don't waste your money.
I'll wait for it to come out on Netflix and watch it then.
Yeah, it'll be on Disney soon.
You know what I just watched? Now we're gonna start reviewing movies, I guess. I just watched The Pope's Exorcist. Did you guys see that one?
It's on my list to watch too.
I watched it the other night because I had a lot of respect for Father Amorth, but
Mm-hmm.
it says it's based on true stories happened in his life. But yeah, I'm not gonna ruin it for you. Just we'll talk about it. We'll review it after you guys have seen it. We'll have to come back.
Looking at it, the IMDb rating is terrible. 6.1 out of 10.
Yeah, I can understand why, but I mean, I had to see it because I had to see it.
Mm-hmm.
His father, Amorth.
Yeah.
I just don't like, if it's not. I can't imagine that it's factual because I know how Hollywood is with these things. But I mean, I didn't hate it, but watch it for yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But I like movies like that. They're coming out with Beetlejuice 2.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's.
I'm looking forward to that. Michael Keaton is coming back.
Did you hear? I think it was all the props were stolen from the front yard of the set. Somebody
really?
actually went onto the set and stole a bunch of the props. It was on the news about a week or two ago.
Yeah, it's up in Corinth, Vermont, which isn't far from here. I was going to take a drive up there. They're filming now. It's supposed to come out next year.
I thought they were filming overseas.
Well, I know they're filming. No, in Vermont. When they built the house for the first one, they tore it down, obviously, and then for 30-something years it was just a hill and grass. But this time they're building the house. I think they're leaving it this time. But the bridge, they're building the covered bridge again. And then after it's done, they're going to do like we did with the first one. They donated it to a local ski resort because they didn't want the liability. I understand that. Something happened and the bridge collapsed or whatever. But it's pretty cool the way they're rebuilding the town, the fire station, the Maitland hardware store. It's the first movie my wife and I went to see, I think, when we were dating. So
that makes you old, Joe.
Oh yeah.
You look at the movies now and they have nothing left to do but remake or do sequels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're doing a new Saw. It's supposed to take place in between 1 and 2. I'm actually looking, or 1 and 2 or 2 and 3, one of the two.
Saw.
And it's I can't wait for that. I'm a huge Saw fanatic.
I
Mhm.
saw one of them, I think. I don't know. But what else is coming out? I didn't see Padre Pio. Did anybody see that?
Mm-mm.
I do want to see that, but I haven't seen that yet.
Dana wants to know, for people who aren't out in the field, what is a good factual paranormal documentary?
None of them.
Well, I will say the Discovery Channel did one on the house in Southington, Connecticut. Back in 2005, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I haven't seen it in quite a few years, but you could probably watch it on YouTube. It's called The Haunting in Connecticut, but it was done by the Discovery Channel, not the movie with Virginia Madsen in 2009. That was horrible. But yeah, Dana, I would suggest you watch that. And I said on the last show about the Sally Jesse Raphael show that they did about that. Watch that. You see how pissed off Ed gets. Starts yelling at everybody. But yeah, that's the first one that comes to mind anyway.
If you don't want to go for the shows, just go onto YouTube and just search Ed and Lorraine Warren's interviews. There's tons of them out there on the on YouTube, which are phenomenal to watch. TV shows, like I said earlier, I dropped the name Holzer Files. It's about one of the more factual ones because it's actual case files. Beyond that, honestly, don't waste your time.
Yep.
Read books.
And Nicole says they have several documentaries on Amityville. Which one is most accurate? I don't think I've seen a documentary on Amityville. I've watched all the horror movies, but not the documentaries.
Well, there are some. There's one that's pretty good by Daniel Lutz, one of the boys. Well, it's my age now. It's called My Amityville Horror. It came out in 2012. I found that to be pretty good because they interviewed some of the original investigators. The newswoman, I forget her name, is Lori something. I think Marvin Scott, and then Lorraine. They went to Lorraine's house and interviewed her. I watched it a couple times. I thought it was pretty well done. But it's called My Amityville Horror, and I think you could see it on the Discovery Plus. Where
it's on Tubi too. It's on Tubi. I'm almost positive.
Is it? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'd recommend you give it a watch, and see what your take is on it. But that was done pretty well.
There's got to be 15 movies out on the Amityville. You got the original, you got The Awakening, you got 3D, you've got Amityville Dollhouse, you've got just this god awful just number of movies.
Yeah,
and all the remakes they've done.
None of the Annabelle movies are based on any facts. I wouldn't waste my time watching that stuff. But I like the documentaries, not the movies, because the documentaries at least attempt to find the truth and tell the true story.
Yeah, I will say, like I said, the YouTube, they do have that, I think it's about 40 minutes or something like that, interviewing Ed and Lorraine about the Amity case. And it's actually footage from inside the house too.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting.
That was one of, if not the first case that I was taught about when I met them. And I remember the first time I went back to their house, we went out for dinner and we went back to their house. And Ed was telling me one of the stories of what happened to him one night when they returned from Amityville. He told me about this big black mass, this figure as tall as the ceiling. So you're figuring 7-8 feet tall. Came up out of this basement stairs. And he said you could hear this loud rumbling sound like sheet metal rattling, like thunder. And I'm standing there, and all the hair on my body standing up, and I'm goosebumps, and I'm like, where did that happen, Ed? He goes, right about where you're standing. No shit. That's what he said. Hand to God, right about where you're standing, And I don't know if it's just trying to scare me because he succeeded, but He told me about a bunch of stuff that would happen in the house when they brought the Annabelle doll home. Before the case was made up for Lorraine had the case made for Ed. But they used to keep the doll like in a rocking chair. And they would come home and find the doll in other places of the house. It would just, be somewhere else. So that was kind of strange.
Could you imagine having Annabelle sitting in a rocking chair for Christmas dinner?
Well, mine sits in a rock. Well, she's on the shelf right now, but when I take her on tour, I have the rocking chair I put her in. That's Annabelle, though. That's a good sister.
Could you imagine having her sit right behind you on stream so everybody could watch? Which would be interesting.
Well, you know what? Mm-hmm. I tell people, full disclosure, I said, this is not the real Annabelle doll. It's an exact replica, right down to the year it was made. But it's not the real one. But people still don't want to go near it.
Where can I get a good
My wife doesn't even want it in the house.
Where can I get a good replica?
They're hard to find now. And if you do find one, you're going to pay a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw one that it had different clothes, but I think it was about the same period. Knickerbocker, $500 they wanted for it.
Wow!
I've seen some for like $2,000. Yeah, you can go on eBay. You can find some of them, but multiple companies made them, from what I understand. This one's a Knickerbocker. It's got the "I love you" heart on it, and but the dress and everything is the exact, the penny, everything. As far as I know, it's exact, because I spent a lot of time with that doll in my day. But it's just, Jeff's going to build me a case, he said, when he gets time, because he's a carpenter. I'm not. But I think I bring him to the lectures, and I put her up on the stage or whatever in the rocking chair. It's a nice conversation piece, because I talk about Annabelle. I have slides in my presentation about Annabelle, and I actually have a video that Jeff did for me very well on Ed Warren and Lorraine explaining the story behind the doll. I said, well, who better to hear the story from but the Warrens themselves? I mean, I could talk about it, but it's only me regurgitating what they've told. So It's like a 5-minute segment. Jeff did an excellent job. I don't know if he's still with us, but I want to thank him again. But
Dana is.
That. Huh?
Dana is.
Dana and Nicole. I think we lost everybody else.
Yep.
We're coming up close to that 3-hour mark.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it's almost the extra hour's almost over.
This has been a lot of fun. Well, thank you to Todd for allowing us the extra time, and thank you, Brent, for staying on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, thank you guys for having me. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to have you on again.
Oh yeah.
Oh, just let me know. By all means, I'd love it.
Mm-hmm.
This is interesting.
Right. And I know I've talked to Joe about this, but some of the things that we want to do when it comes to like the different public events, we want to do more than just gather and go on an investigation. We want to actually have some type of education that we teach people. And I mentioned that I'd like to have you on some of them with us because you'd be a great insight to that.
Okay.
But you'd have to get up in front and talk to people.
Yeah, that's.
It won't be big groups, so if you're investigating,
we'll put you in a room next to it with a camera, and then we'll have a TV in the room, and you can just pretend you're.
Well, no, we're talking about like Brent. We're investigations, yes, but we're talking about like colleges, universities, libraries, whatever. I mean, I love doing those because obviously I love to talk, but I like to share my knowledge with people, if they want to hear it. People want to hear. What the Warrens were like. I knew them intimately as people, not the world famous Warrens. I knew them as people and what they taught me and fascinating cases they worked on. And, I'm just trying to pass that along because I'm not going to be here forever.
Joe, your camera keeps tilting.
Huh?
Your camera keeps tilting.
That's somebody's way of telling me it's time to go to bed. How's that? But yeah, I enjoy doing them, and I think that having multiple people like us and Bill and Jeff, we could all just play off one another.
Mhm.
And
Right.
we all have different, different experiences, different perspectives, different ideas. We may not agree with each other on everything. Heather, you and I don't agree on some things, but
That's
okay.
what makes it interesting.
I still love you. Even though you're wrong, but
No.
I'm staying out of this one.
here comes that shovel. Brent's got the
Like I
popcorn.
said, I think our first presentation together is going to be a fun one.
The Ouija board?
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
And I have an Annabelle Ouija board that I'm going to give away at the end.
Oh, I got to get one.
That's a good speech. Ouija. No. Bye.
Ouija.
Well, I had an interview with the Talking Board Historical Society, and they opened my eyes to a lot of. One of the guys had 1,000 Ouija boards in his home.
I think I've seen a YouTube video on him.
Yep. Yeah, great guy. The whole organization is great, and they mostly collect them, but there are a couple that will use them regularly. But it's the history into it was fascinating.
I've actually got 2 of them in the cabinet behind me.
Well, like we always talk about, it's really about the intent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I tell people get scared when I say it, and I'm like, look, just because you've used a Ouija board doesn't mean something's going to happen to you. But why roll the dice and take a chance?
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to lie. One of the Ouijas is from whose museum. I got it because the attachments that are in that museum, and the other is from the client when you fell off the bathtub, and that one. I took her tarot deck, I took her Ouija board, and and remember what happened right after that.
Yep. I wish they hadn't sold the house. I would have loved to have gone back and did one more follow-up.
Yeah. For her daughter's sake, they had to.
Yeah.
That was almost tragic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dana said she saw an orb knock my camera down. That could be. I probably got all kinds of spirits here.
You got to protect your house like mine. If they're negative, they don't come in. They know better.
It wasn't a cab or an orb. The shovel just didn't get his head.
Yeah. It was aiming for it.
Yep. I'm in trouble. I'm always in trouble. I'm always in trouble. But I usually try to sweet talk my way out of it. Or promise her a steak dinner.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely. I know I'll be definitely in touch with you soon, Brent, because I want to start. I know it's going to be a while before I can get out there, but I want to plan something next year for the Vegas area. Because I have a lot of people. I mean, Tom Devlin's museum wants me to come out and do something. And I know they're very peculiar on who they let in for investigations.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, and
you think they'd let me in?
They might. But McCaw School of Mine wants us to come back and do a fundraiser for them.
Okay. Like I said, let me know. I mean, if it's right in that same time period, I could probably get a week off work.
Okay. Yep. I'll definitely let you know. Because then the other thing too is, we had a long list that you and I talked about last time of places we wanted to go to. So I'll probably be out there once we get our house purchased. Then I'll start doing my travel again.
Yeah, there's a long list out here, but like I said, Vegas is getting so hard to get into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just, you got to go through so many freaking loopholes and
yeah.
And
I know the Mob Museum invited me back through my publisher. And I know they want a hefty amount of money, but they weren't requiring money from me because they have my book in their store. Because there's a whole chapter on the museum in the book. Okay. So they wanted to do an event promoting the book as well.
We should all put our bucket list together. One place that I've been intrigued by for many years is the Whaley House. You ever been there?
No.
Anybody? Where is it? San Diego?
No. Yep.
It's not a very big house, but there's a lot of history behind it.
Yeah, Old Town in San Diego.
Yeah, it was built on the former gallows. That's why Thomas Whaley or whatever got it really cheap.
What I'll do is we'll make it a road trip. Joe, you'll drive down from Connecticut. I'll drive up from Florida. We'll meet in Arizona, and then work our way through California. Hit the Winchester House.
Yeah,
That's not haunted.
No, I still want to go just because the architecture intrigues me.
Alcatraz, I want to go to.
Yep.
I got a lot of stuff on my bucket list.
I think Alcatraz is 2,500, something like that.
Yeah, they're not bad for what you get.
But you got to pay a guide to take you out there. That's then you got to have one of the park rangers with you at all times. So I think that's the main cost is the boat trip and the wages for somebody to be out there.
Yep. Yep.
So I want to do Alcatraz too. That's
yeah. Well, Ken lives. I think he said he's like an hour from there.
Yeah, he's not too far from there.
You know, so I said, hey, maybe if you can hook us up or something. But yeah, I'd like. I haven't been on the West Coast. I went to Oregon for work back in 2019, but never really got to see anything. I did stay at a place called McManaman's. Has anybody ever heard of that? It was a hotel that was pretty creepy, even for me. Just the old paintings they had in the hallways looked like they were staring at you and stuff. I thought it was really cool. It was called McManaman's, and I'm surprised I remember the name.
Nicole, don't forget the Queen Mary.
Yes.
Yeah, the Queen Mary. Yeah, I mean, there's so many places.
Is that even back open? Because
it is.
Okay.
Yeah, they've just recently opened. I know Nicole Strickland does a lot of work with them. But yeah, if I'm going to see the Queen Mary, then I'm taking a 4-day cruise afterwards because Carnival's dock is right there.
You can investigate the cruise ship.
Oh, there's spirits on there. We've had some strange things happen that we can't explain.
Because every cruise ship has a morgue. So why not, right?
Yep. I know a friend of mine, they were just on a cruise and they said that the room next to them had almost like police do not cross tape over it. And the door handle was sealed. And it's like, okay, that only happens if either A, someone broke in and they're preserving the crime scene, or B, there's a dead body and they're waiting for the police to come in to check it.
I was going to ask you if you saw any chalk outlines.
I know.
Well, yeah, but I think the next one more feasibly is probably going to be Robert the Doll, right? If Bill comes through for us.
Right. And you'll probably go by way of Bill because he's down in the Miami area, but I'll just take a boat from here. It's an hour and a half boat ride from here.
Yeah, well, because hopefully we'll in February, is that when MegaCon is?
Yes. Yeah, I need to talk to him too because I'm supposed to go to that as well.
Because I said, well, if I come down for that, I'll spend a week or two maybe. But I'm hoping that you and I will have some gigs down there.
Yep. Yeah, we definitely need to all start planning, get off our butts.
Start planning crap out this way too.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. There's so much to see. But okay.
Well, I can't believe we've gone for almost 3 hours. I'm definitely going to sleep in tomorrow.
I got to get up early.
And I can't call in tomorrow. It's Friday.
It's still early for you though, at least. But I'm losing my voice. But thank you everyone for watching and all of your questions. And thank you, Brent, for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
It's been great.
Thank you guys for having me. It's been an honor.
Definitely have to have you back. And did you want to share any information about your team and where they can find you?
You can find it Facebook, of course, Incarnate Paranormal. Also Twitch TV / Incarnate Paranormal. Basically, when I stream, I share paranormal evidence from all my investigations. I get the basically chat involved in analyzation, so I don't have to do it all by myself. Kind of use my viewers as a waypoint to get the evidence.
Yep. Yeah, I've actually caught a couple of those episodes just for portions of it, and it's actually really interesting.
So I'll stop the show, answer questions, do all that. Come join in the fun. Do it traditionally Monday through Friday, 6:30 to 8. Occasionally do the weekend show. So again, that's twitch.tv Incarnate Paranormal.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And as always, Joe, it's always a pleasure to have a fun night and to make fun of you.
I don't mind. I deserve it.
No problem. And again, thank you everyone for watching Passport to the Paranormal. We will be back next week when Jeff Schlechter will be joining us to pick on Joe some more. So
bring it.
You guys all have a great
thanks to our guests for staying with us. I appreciate it.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And everyone have a great week. We'll see you next week.
God bless you all. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The truth is here and now. on WLTKDB Talk Radio at WLTKDB.com.